No, don't do that. Okay. This little ditty we call. The microphone just punched me in the face. Anyway.
Okay, we're recording. We're live. What's going down in Chinatown, Charlie Brown? You came in as spam.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I just crossed the border. Everybody coming across. Everybody coming across the border tonight. Oh, baby.
Are you going south? Did you go south or north?
Oh, I went south. I go down south. I went down, baby. My tongue is tired. Yeah,
Going down to
necesito
Georgia?
Hablar mucho.
Delicioso. Hot diggity doggo.
It's
Well,
tight.
sorry about that
It's
one,
not
guy.
right.
It ain't natural, but Oak Express is. All right, so let's cut to the chase. Are you canceling your Netflix or what?
What? No, I'm pro pedophilia, Frenchie. Haven't I already? I'm a Crystalia fan.
Is that right?
I love
that's
all the
why you keep
Miramax
going.
movies.
Dude, even before Weinstein was outed, I always felt that there was something like sleazy and scuzzy about Miramax movies. I had no idea what it was, but they just always felt kind of scuzzy.
Well, whatever's wrong, it's like, it's Tarantino. He knew about Harvey. He knew all about Harvey.
Yeah, dude.
Tarantino knew all about Harvey.
Gives me the
Yeah.
he gives me the same vibe, dude. Looking at Tarantino, I think, oh, that dude, he has some really short skeletons in his closet.
Some short skeletons. That's funny. It's a funny way to call someone.
Yeah,
a
and
pedophile.
they're hanging up by their feet most likely because he's a podiatrist pederast, old Quentin Tarantino. He's a
Yeah, well-
podiatrist.
Podiatrash.
Yeah, well, there you go. He's podiatrash. That's a good.
I think his
I don't
movies
know.
are great. And honestly, if he wasn't such a fucking creep, those movies wouldn't be very good. And we all know that. And that's a difficult
I mean,
thing to
you make
deal with.
you make a valid point. You make that's kind of the whole. I don't know. Actually, though, to be honest with you, on Tarantino, I think Pulp Fiction's his best, and there aren't any other movies. I've seen almost every other one he's made. That's the only one I genuinely like, and it's what made me watch the other ones. But I'm like, man, you zenithed out with that Pulp Fiction movie, and the rest of this is just you trying to get that lightning again.
Well, he's a classic liberal, okay? He supports black people. He casts women as main characters.
He is the most
He's
hilarious. He has got to be the most hilariously racist person I have ever seen. Seriously, have you seen? There's an interview right after he did Django Unchained where he's on BET with Samuel L. Jackson and Jamie Foxx and all the other people in the cast, and he's trying to act like he has some right to the cool black people slang. He's like, yeah, dog, yeah, man, like we was just doing this movie, man, and he's like fist bumping everybody, and you can tell Samuel L's sitting there like,
This
I'm
fucking
getting
honky
money
ass
from this man.
motherfucker. This
Yeah.
honky
It's-
ass
you-
motherfucker.
Look it up. Look up if you can find that video of Quentin Tarantino doing an interview on BET with the black cast of Django Unchained, and he is the most awkwardly. Look, I'm one of y'all guys. I'm just one of the guys, y'all. It's
He's
so bad.
I know Quentin. I know what he is. I know he's a California racist. He's a California racist.
Instead of
It's
like that's funny. I was thinking of the California raisins, but it's rapist.
no, that's a raisin's the size of his penis. But what I'm trying to say is like there's a certain brand of racism in California. There's a certain brand. There's a certain swig. It's like when we're so
Yeah.
when it's like all our peers are like it's so interesting in California because there's so many Latin people, and what people don't want to talk about. That the Latins did is we kind of invented racism. We kind of invented that whole light skin, white skin, fucking, the right skin, the black and the dark skin and the, lights. We're that racism. That's us. So, and then
That's
black people
funny.
are always fucking super racist. White people tend to be racist. So there's all this racism going on in California. And you know that all you can really figure out is that racism is right. That's all you can really figure out. You're not sure what about it, but that it's the right way to think.
It's deliciously ironic. There's a show, I think it was a comedy show, and it was in west side of LA near Santa Monica. It was what was the place called? It used to be a hair salon or something. Crave or I can't remember. It's a
No,
little
I,
theater.
I really like that place. I know the guy. I know his name's Tommy. It's called the Fanatic Salon. I really like it there.
Yes,
but I
yes,
think I know what you're about to
yes.
talk about.
He is. That dude is a nice dude, and he's the most unintentionally racist, flamboyant gay man I've ever seen. It's.
but
I was
see,
there in
He's
2000.
not that gay. He's actually bi. He's a guy. He just likes to fuck. You know, he's sick.
He just wants to stick it in anything he can. But it was funny because there's this black gal shows up, and he walks up to her, and he starts touching her hair, and he says, "How do you do that? Like, just tell me, how do you black people do that? Like, I know it just must be so hard." And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm from the Midwest, and I can tell that's gauche. How do you not know? How do you live in L.A. and not realize how gauche that is? And it's, of course, you know why? It's because he's got the lefty lisp, so he can, not just the lefty, but he's got that lisp, so he can genuflect and get away with it.
Well, it's get away with it. It's like, so interesting how people, build their personalities. You know what I mean? Because we're always told to be true to ourselves and do what's right, but we also know that that's not the whole thing. You can't just do what you want all the time. That's insane. But so what you do is you build a permission structure within your own identity to do things that are wrong and get away with it. You build a permission structure in your head.
That's pretty good psychology right there, actually. I hadn't thought of it that way, but you are hitting the nail on the head there.
Well, there's a word for it. It's like you build paths in your mind. You build causeways. It's like I'm thinking of like a river term. It's like like when they build.
I don't know the river.
When they it's like you built you dig out a waterway. It's like how your brain works. You need it's like you need a chip into the ground to create an aqueduct.
A channel.
Yeah, you need a channel. A channel. There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm. It's close. It's almost there. I think that might be the word I was using. Yeah, you need to channel your feelings.
Yeah.
You need to build a channel for your feelings. Is really what it means.
There's something very interesting about that. I was talking about it with my dad the other day.
You're talking to your dad, and it didn't involve violence. Tell me what that's like. I'd like to know what that life is like. I don't know what that life is like.
Well, no, Dad and I's discussions include violence, but it's fun violence, like paintball guns or slugging each other in the shoulder or stuff. It's not like unfun violence, but we were talking about it's just normal guy stuff. But we were talking about some actor in Hollywood came out there and he couldn't understand it. He said because everybody would get up in arms about these causes and they'd cry and they'd do talks and all this stuff, and then they'd never actually do anything about it. They'd just talk about it. And what he finally realized is that they were getting a sort of catharsis or release from the emotions, but they weren't, it wasn't about actually doing anything. It was about the emotional release that came from identifying as a liberator or someone helping with civil rights or whatever. It was a virtue signaling thing, but he didn't know the term for it. And it turns out it's not just Hollywood, but that explains why so many of these Hollywood actors like Quentin Tarantino are blatantly racist, but think they're doing fine because they do Django Unchained. And so they think, okay, since I did this big movie, I can drop the N-word with impunity.
Well, that's what I used to do a bit. I mean, I've been doing comedy for a long time. I've tried a lot of different bits. So, I guess I tried this maybe 3 or 4 times. I just every time a black person tells me I can't relate to their problems, I'm not going to. I'm not going to try and relate. I'm not going to try and understand. It's like, you could never understand what it's like to be a black person. Yeah, I guess I can't. Okay, whatever. I guess I can't help you. All right, what I'm trying to say is if you guys let me say the N-word, I will join the cause. I will help you guys.
Right.
I will be on the streets with you.
Well, and it is that might ironically be one of the biggest things that's actually separating the culture is one group has autonomy over a word, and they do lord it over the other group, which makes the other group resentful, so they try and use the word to piss off the first group, when in reality, if people were just like whatever, it would probably be less discordant, but they can't be that way. It's interesting. I had a joke myself. I wrote a rap song, And in the
Well,
rap song,
that sounds something like it was good. That sounds like it was a good thing you did.
it's a pretty good rap song, and the song it's about
Exactly
how
like Vanilla Ice.
no, it goes like this. In the 18th century, prominent theologian Theodore Sturgeon once became so incensed with the Catholic Church that he publicly declared, "Popery is abhorred of the Lord." Okay, first of all, I know it's the 1800s, but popery, that's what you call Catholicism? And B, how pissed off do you gotta be before you have to rap? Popery is abhorred of the Lord. He's got a gentrified, wickified smorgasbord of heresies lining out his evil God. I think the Pope's got a devil in his something, yo. And I keep doing that, and then at the end of it, this was risky move. I had a soft N-word at the end of it, like in a rap song. And when the audience gasps, I say, "You see what I did there? I did that whole joke so I could get away with one soft N-word." And that's my impression of Quentin Tarantino after directing the movie Django Unchained.
That's nice.
That's how old.
Bringing it back. Bring it God.
Yeah, so that was the joke. So I was doing what he did to show them what he did. But then again, it doesn't make me any. I'm in his camp, but it's so ridiculous. That one, what was?
Yeah,
Go
keep
ahead.
going.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was
Well,
just gonna say that I'm half Latin. I don't understand any of this. Okay, I just want to say all the words. I want it to be okay. I honestly don't really want to help anybody. I just want us all to hang out. Can you forget that everybody was racist? Can we just all forget that we all profited off of race? It's just no one will let us forget. The people who have all the money won't let us forget. The people who don't have all the money won't let us forget. It's just like, what are you gonna do?
Here's the thing, though. You can't. Well, first off, Hateful Eight. That's the one where Bruce Dern has a hard N-word, and it's pretty hilarious. It's just because that's the whole point of that stinking movie. But here's the thing. There has never been a culture in the world that is free from mistreating other cultures and ethnicities based on their cultural identity. Not one. The white people, the word slave is a anglicization of the term Slav, which was the term slave comes from Slav, which was about Caucasian people enslaved by the Moors, which were Spanish Muslims, about 1,000 years ago, maybe 800 years ago. That's where we get the term slave. It's from white people, Caucasians, kind of Russian white people, but still white people, being enslaved by Muslims hundreds of years ago. So you can't, there's no culture that is free from this. So what's really stupid is that right now, the American black people, because here's another thing. It's primarily American people who are black. It's not like, if you go to the Caribbean, you're not going to find any BLM people. You're gonna find people who don't give a rat's ass. I've been there. I went on a cruise when I was 17, and we went to Barbados and Grenada and St. Martin, and there wasn't.
You went to that.
You
saw the island that Jeffrey Epstein had all that fun on. You just saw it in the distance.
I'm not sure where that island is, but
where all these jet skis are going to.
Where are they heading? Hey, why is that jet ski got a bunch of kids dangling behind it, and there ain't no float?
9 jet skis heading to this one island. I don't know what is going on.
What's up with that? But yeah, no, they the people didn't have a chip on their shoulder, and it was interesting because you could see it because there were people on the cruise who were Americans that were black, and they'd be polite to you, but you could tell that there was a barrier. You couldn't have a free conversation. Then you get to the islands, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And it was very interesting because I was 17 at the time, and I realized a lot of the political ire is a product of the culture. It's not actually a product of a perceived slight, because the other thing is, these countries, they don't have a living standard as good as America, even in the better communities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of things going on. It's like, because, of course, very recently, there were still laws on the books about, I mean, our society is built off of the boom of the middle class after the World War, and gosh, black people were fucking not given the GI Bill on purpose. They did not apply
don't get
to
me
them.
wrong.
And
Don't get
I
me
feel
wrong,
like
I've never
they just won't let go of it. They just won't let go of it. No, now that we're all fucked, they just won't let go of it. I don't know why. You should see that. You should see that everyone is now as fucked as them. They should just see that everybody in America is just as fucked as the black people are, and that we should now stop holding it against each other. Because that's really why Wyoming and fucking Indiana and all those Wisconsin they're all mad. That's why they're all mad is because black people keep saying that they have it worse than all white people, and they don't. A lot of us have it the same.
Well,
we really have it the same right now.
They don't. Here's the thing. There was definitely a time in our country where there was some rampant racism, and that time ended before either of us or the majority of people getting pissed about it were ever born. I mean, it happened. I would say in the big cities, like the big metropolitan, hip, civil liberty areas, it was probably done, really realistically done, by 1980. And that trickled down to the rural communities by the late 80s. Up in Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, these areas, there's two black guys. There's Phil and Lamar. I know them. They're both great guys. Wonderful in the whole region. I'm joking, but you get what I mean. They're
gay.
There's
they
never
love
really
each other.
Yeah, they are. They're gay. It's actually one person. He was on Mad TV and he does a bunch of voiceover work. That's Phil Lamar. I actually get a kick out of that guy. But point being, it's all so mayonnaise in this part of the country that if you're going to be racist, it's like being someone in Britain who is a fan of American TV. Okay? That's what it's like if you're a racist in the Midwest of America, because there's nobody but white people there. So you don't really have a lot of racists. Here's what you have. You have white kids who like rap, and you have white kids who like country who don't like the white kids who like rap. That's what you have. I'm dead serious though. That's what it is. It's the truth though. I know though. That's all
that's going on out there. That's all that's going on out there. It's really all of it. That's really all of the problem.
For real. You don't have real racism, and there's black people come through Wyoming and they're like, oh man, I'm coming through Wyoming. I better watch out. Then they get here and they're like, these people aren't racist. They're just curious and awkward. That's what they find out when they get there.
And they have guns. Curious,
but nobody's
awkward, and armed.
The closest thing to real racism you'll find in the Midwest, and this is sad, and I'm just trying to be honest and intellectually honest here. There are people in the Midwest who are pretty hard on Native Americans. You will have a little bit of that.
Well,
so
you
I
can't
can't deny that.
You can't get rid of generations of ancestral hate. That's what they.
Well,
maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is.
It's mainly, from my experience, because I'm from the northeast part of Wyoming. On the west side of South Dakota, you've got Rapid City, and Rapid City is the metropolitan area in the United States with the largest Native American population. And because of that, the majority of that population sadly subsists off government support, and as you know, communities that get stuck in that tend to not do anything but subsist off that government support. So there is a lot of crime in those communities, and Rapid City can be a rough town if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But that's really it. I mean, if you really look, I mean, granted, you're always going to find your outlier. There's always
you're stuck in an alley in Rapid City, and you just think to yourself, "How did I get here?"
Okay. That's not nice, but it's fun. But yeah, that's about the closest you'll get. The reality is, most white people in the Midwest have no hatred. They don't know. They don't have. The majority of people never get 50 miles away from where they were born, even in 2020, which is weird to me. So basically, you have curiosity and you have social awkwardness. But these things aren't actually racist. Racism is when you look at someone different than you in terms of their ethnicity, and you think they're inferior to you based on that. And that's not what you find up here. You just find curiosity and awkwardness that are called racism by the left, because honestly, you don't have a bunch of hooded Southerners running around chasing black people like you
Yeah,
used to.
they just see like it's like California racism. That's what we see. It's like either you in California you're
ironic,
either it's like because we have this awful definition from what we see. Us all liberals, because what we see is the extreme. You know what I mean? So it's like you
Yeah.
can't parse the difference between like naivety and ignorance, and it's honestly it's sick. It's because that's what the game. That's what that's the game that gets played on us. It's like you can't tell the difference between maliciousness and ignorance. You just can't tell the difference. It's just so hard to. That's what the law is about. The law and prosecution and prison and crime, it's all based off of intention. That's what it's really about, trying to figure out someone's intention. Are they malicious or are they just a fucking idiot, And that's the difficulty. That's the difficulty of life. Because it's usually the same result. I don't know how this happened with humanity, is that if you're an idiot or an evil person, you kind of, tend to be left with the same shit,
Sad but true. There's a lot of truth. It's really weird too, because have you ever actually been to the deep South, like the South, not the South of the United States, as in Southern California, but like Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi? You ever been over there?
Unfortunately, I've been to Indiana, I've been to Florida, and that's kind of the.
You
kinda the
might
gist
see a
of it.
little bit of it in Florida, but the thing about Florida is you
I was
have
in
a lot
Orlando.
of people.
I'm in Orlando.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
I
so
was
no,
in,
you're-
it's like.
Did-
What's the capital of Florida? It's Tallahassee. I was in Tallahassee.
Yeah, Tallahassee maybe. I've never been to Tallahassee.
It's an
Orlando's
interesting-
touristy.
I was a kid.
You might not even meet someone in Orlando who has that Florida accent. You know what I'm talking about, where they talk like they're from Florida. That's
welcome
something my
to
mom
Disney
was from.
World. Welcome to Disney World. We're all Disney fans. What? Okay.
Okay, so you've seen that. Well, that's Florida. My mom was from Jacksonville. That's in the northeast part of Florida. And that's technically, I found out later on, that's technically not the South. But I've spent a little time in Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas. And what I found when I was there is people are actually a little bit more racist in cities like Chicago or LA or Denver, actually, than they are there. There, everybody is integrated as a natural matter of course, because they have to be, because like you said, everybody's poor, so they're all in the same boat.
Yeah,
so
we're
everybody's
all in the
kinda
shit can right now, okay? We're all in the shit can, fucking brown people. I don't know what
Yeah.
you think is happening. We're all in the shit
Well,
can.
and
You
so
think
as-
people are being racist to you? No, they think, people in Wisconsin think that black people don't understand or care about them and think that, they think they're being blamed for shit, that it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I don't know as much about Wisconsin. I've only been to Madison twice, and I've got a friend from there who's pretty even keel. But anyway, what I remember in the Deep South, you'd have people using these racial terms, and it wasn't racist, which is the weirdest thing I know. But like, they'd be using the term back, like a white guy would say the N-word to a black dude, and he'd say crack or whatever, and they'd laugh and have a beer. And it's the weirdest thing. And then you kind of see that, and you're like, here's what really cued me into it. I got a cousin originally from Oklahoma. He was a pretty cool kid till he hit his 20s and decided. Well, he decided to hit his 20s and see how much meth he could do. I love the kid to death, but that's kind of what happened.
You
But-
love him as much as he loved the meth.
Well, he's a fun kid. I guess he's about 30 now. But he
About
would
30
try
now.
and
See how
start-
all that meth turned out.
he would try and start fights with black people by using that term, and nobody would get pissed off. It was very. I was like, why the hell aren't you dead, buddy? You idiot! You can't go around doing that. And he would. And you know what they do? They just start making fun of him and laughing at him. And it was a big contrast to. I had a friend a comedian colleague in Denver, and he was out at a restaurant with his dad, and there was a waiter who didn't use the N-word, but he was trying to like joke like, I listen to rap, you listen to rap, hey, we're friends. And his dad got so pissed at this waiter that he made the manager come, and they got that waiter fired. That's the difference. Like in the South, everybody's throwing the term around that we can't say, and people are just laughing about it. In Denver, you try and act like, hey, I'm listening to rap. We know what's up, and you get fired. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. So the irony is,
Well,
like
you know,
you
you learned
said-
a lesson, right? That's the lesson you learned. I don't know. It's one of those things.
yeah, if they got a Southern accent, you can get away with it. That's the lesson. But no, the irony
I'll
is,
remember that actually. I'm gonna go to Compton and just start talking like, all right, where are they? Where are they?
that. I meant if the black people have a Southern accent. If you could do that in Compton, it's a different scenario because, like in the Midwest, a lot of people born in South Central and Compton will never travel more than 50 or 100 miles from where they were born in their lifetime. Kyle, there's people in Riverside who's never seen the ocean.
What?
I'm
No.
serious.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my God, you're so right. I've met those people. It's
the
man,
craziest.
They
It-
drink
it's like,
hallucinogenic
dude, just-
tea and fucking do bad ecstasy and that's their life.
And they're like, ocean? I don't need no ocean. It's
I
the
feel
craziest thing.
waves.
Like,
I
if
feel the
I
waves
lived,
within me.
if I lived an hour away from the ocean, I would make it a point to go there at least a couple days out of the year. I can't believe there's people, but there are people out there in Ontario and whatnot who've never they've never, and it's just it's an hour-long drive. Just leave early.
Yeah, well,
It's the
traffic
craziest thing to me.
is so crazy around here. It's not even worth it. It's like you drive to the beach and you spend 3 hours in traffic, and it's just not worth it. You just hang out. You know, I'll be honest. I haven't even stepped on a beach, and you know, I maybe step on a beach. I've stepped on a beach my whole life in California, maybe 20 times, 35 times, maybe. I just don't like it.
Wow.
I like the view. I like the view, but I just don't like the sand. I don't like my nipples.
I've
I
been
don't
on the
like,
beach
I don't like,
that
I don't like
many
what it does to
times.
my hair. I don't like what it does to my hair.
I've been on the beach at least that many times since I started doing the RV thing in 2016. From the west, from Arcata in the north. Wait, no. It was that city in Goonies, whatever that was called, in the north, all the way down to San Diego. I haven't been to the beach in San Diego, but I've been to the beach in like Laguna Beach, around that area.
Oh, Laguna Beach is beautiful. Laguna Beach is historical. Laguna Beach is really nice.
Yeah.
I love Laguna. Laguna is very nice.
Wherever that place is in Laguna or Newport, there's a spot where there's a bunch of stairs that go down a cliffside and it goes right
Yeah,
to the
that's
beach.
Laguna. That's Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach, historical Laguna Beach, an artisan town. There's a beautiful art college out there. There's a bunch of art cottages, a bunch of little cottages with some pretty expensive stuff. That the people,
Yeah,
it's like a commune sort of going on out there. It's really awesome. And
Like
it's
a-
still fresh on the way down from the canyon, and then the beautiful Laguna Beach. bars and life. And I remember
It's
one
pretty
time
tight.
I used to do a show out there pretty regularly. I'm kind of preempting another conversation I want to have with you, but I was
Sounds
doing this
good.
show. I was doing this show with this fucking maniac. Just a maniac. Just a his name's Ed. He had, he knew, he was a local from Laguna, and that's a big thing down there in California. Laguna is a big, local thing, and he'd been working there for, 30 years, and, big deal, and everybody knew him, and a barfly, decides he wants to be a fucking comedian, one day. You know how it is. He's 55. He's, everyone's laughed at him his whole life. But really, he's one of the worst performers I've ever seen. He doesn't understand anything. Racist, ignorant. He's a California racist down in Orange County. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful, just California racist. And he would always do the show, and I was invited a lot, and I had some really good, really great sets there. But and I remember I hated the guy. I hated him. I hate him still, probably. Because of what he does to comedy, great, guy outside of it, I like him, but just what he did to comedy just didn't feel right when he was doing the shows. And I remember one time there was a nice 35-year-old woman that was after the show, and we hung out, and I drove her to her little cottage, and it was a little cottage in Laguna that she rented, and there was a bunch of houses like that, and it was so nice and quaint, and had a very nice time with her, very nice. Anyway,
Nice.
but what I was trying to say, yeah, beautiful town, very eclectic. A lot of space for a lot of weird people, especially living situations. A lot of weird houses down there. But I want to talk about is, that guy, he put me up, and I got a lot of great experience out of it. But God, he was awful, and I hated it. I hated performing for them. I hated performing there. I made the best of it, which I was my thing and what I'm really good at. But God, it makes me so upset. Why do I can't do these shows with idiots anymore? They're just trying to ruin all their own shit. They're creating shit to ruin it. What is up with that?
I hear what you're saying. Here's what I figured out a long time ago. Any show is an opportunity, even if it's a crap one. A perfect example. I got chased by some drunken lady with a plate in Pueblo, Colorado, and it was the best thing because it was so funny. It sucked. It totally threw me off my set. But what I realized at a certain point is that no show ever goes exactly how you want it. Even if it goes pretty good, there's still always something you can think of that was a problem. And so what you got to do at a certain point is just lean into it. So that's what I started doing. And suddenly, whenever something happened, even if it was pretty funky, it wouldn't make me as mad, and it wouldn't throw me off my game. That said, some rooms are easier than others. Ironically, and Laguna Beach reminds me of this because I did a show down there it was at a gay bar, or it was a Pride Week or something.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Yeah, it was a show, open mic, the kind of show that was really popular back then and very odd. So there's a show and then there's an open mic following, and yeah. So you do the show part.
Yeah. So you
Main
know which
Street
one I'm
Cabaret.
talking about.
I remember. Yeah, beautiful bar.
Oh no, mine
Andrew
wasn't
Pupa. Andrew Pupa. He does a podcast now called Viral
Yeah,
Load.
no, it was
Very
him.
Appropriate.
It was Andrew Pupa. He hates me now because I don't agree with him on the COVID thing.
He went to New York to fix the people. He went to New York when they all called for healthcare workers because they knew what was going to happen to him. He went to go be a healthcare worker over there.
Aw, well, he's gonna find out soon enough that I wasn't whistling Dixie. But I'll leave that to him, and then he.
Well, no. He was there. He was there with the COVID patients. He was there with the COVID patients, Frenchie.
Well, what he probably found out when he was there with the COVID patients is they consolidated everybody into a handful of hospitals, and it wasn't as advertised. Remember, 6%. That's all it really. That's all that was just COVID. The rest was comorbidities, and in New York specifically, Cuomo put all the COVID patients in the senior citizen centers. So he put the most vulnerable people in the crosshairs of the virus deliberately. So New York did that to themselves. I don't think New York's coming back. I mean, they lost 420,000 people who fled the city by May. And
so how many are left? 10 million? There's about 10 million left, right?
I would imagine New York lost at minimum 10% of its population.
Good.
And here's the thing about that.
Good.
By
good,
definition,
good.
Those were the richest people in the city.
Beautiful. Let their economy. Let the Fed finally fucking. Gosh, I have so many opinions about all this money stuff when it comes to the states. Because the United States of America, the Republic, financially not built right. It's just not built right.
It got so bad in New York that Cuomo said he would buy rich people a drink and make them dinner at his house if they came back. He was only half joking. Like, you can look that up. He's like, "Hey, New Yorkers, what are your fair weather friends? Hey, come on back. I'll make you dinner. I'll buy you a drink." And he sounds almost like that, actually. That's how bad. Because
there's a really famous comic doing really well right now, and sometimes people come, they say I talk like him or whatever, or I look like him. But he's basically saying, that the Cuomo brothers, the farthest that they should have ever gotten was managing a nice Italian restaurant. Because he just seems like he's the kind of guy who just should be asking people how their meal was.
It does.
Walking around.
What comedian is that? What comic?
His name's Tim Dillon. Dylan. He's crushing.
I don't know him.
Everybody's talking about him. You would like him. He's on it. He doesn't hate Trump, but obviously he thinks he's a dummy, crazy criminal, mastermind dummy. Griffin, just Griffin and riffing, and it's a great life for Donnie T right now, isn't it?
Good for him for doing well, but I'd probably watch your set over his because I know you better than him. But spider. Anyway, New York's going through that, and what I was saying earlier with the gay shows, and I've done over a dozen shows that are like
speaking of Tim
put
Dillon,
on by the LGBT. Well, by the LGBT community, I've done them in Denver. I've done them in the West Coast. And the way I look at it as a Christian who doesn't support that community, I don't hate anybody, but I figure, if I weren't here, they'd book another comic, and that comic wouldn't have oblique moral references like I've got. So as long as I don't have to, by default, say jokes in support of this, I don't mind going. And there's plenty of people. I've got friends who are, they make a $3 bill look straight. So that's not a problem for me. But what I've found is that these gay shows, they are not happy. They do not fit the word gay. They're some of the hardest to make laugh audiences you'll find. They've all got chips in the shapes of dicks on their shoulders, unless they're, ladies.
Chip dick shoulders?
In
Chip
that
dick
case,
shoulders?
yeah. Well, then they've got dictos. But
Dick chips? They got chips for
that's
dicks? Dicks for chips?
yeah, pretty much. That's what I found. And here's the other funny thing. Meanwhile, you get a black audience, best thing in the world. There is nothing there. I would give up all the white audiences I've ever had for a couple good black audiences, because when they like you, I mean, they like you. It's the best. There's nothing. I was in D.C. in 2012. This is the only time I had it was like a 90% black audience, and I was doing good. People laughed so hard they stood up and did a laugh dance, they were laugh dancing.
That's the good stuff. Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, you're never gonna see a white audience do that,
Well, see,
ever,
unfortunately-
even if they love you.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, just black people can tell I'm Latino, so they don't like me. There's some kind of inherent vibe. They pick up on my Spaniard Latinness, and they start feeling awful feelings. No, because that's really who started this whole thing. Okay, this whole thing of slavery and bad racism in the Americas. Sorry, it was Latin people, but we did that, and we gave it to white people, and we gave it to black people. We gave white people black people. And it's been a bad time. It's been a bad time for us.
Well, that's the recent innovation of it. But man, slavery goes back. I mean, it's an
To the
institution
Bible.
as old as human beings. Yeah, well, who's the worst abused people is probably the Jewish people, and you'll
Yeah,
never
good.
see them with a chip on their shoulder like that.
Yeah, it's
Ever.
on their
I mean,
nose.
oh, not nice, but funny. Very funny. But I don't think there's another ethnic group who's been through more as a group than the Jewish people. And I've never met a Jewish person who is like, oh, whitey this, or oh, darky this, or even you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, and one of the jokes is all the Jewish people like eating at a Palestinian restaurant. They love it because it's naughty. That's
Well, see, actually, I'm actually happy for the Jews right now. I'm happy for them because they finally get their own ethnicity to oppress. They finally get one. They get to do to the Palestinians everything that's ever been done to them, and that's what justice really feels like. That's what justice really is.
Yeah,
is to
but
take all the things that happened to you
Pal-
and put them onto some innocent person. That's justice. I like that.
All right, well, I've got you've made me. I have to go into rabbi mode here. I'm sorry, but I have to. Look, there are no actual Palestinians. There is no ethnicity of Palestine. They are just Arabs who won't move out of the Hebrew lands. That's the truth, though.
Yeah,
Palestine.
they're just
is
regular Muslims, right? They're just regular old Muslims. They're not special. They're
Well-
not special Muslims. They're just regular Muslims.
Well, it's like this. Prior Islam, the Roman Empire called Israel Palestine, and that was the Latin term for Philistine. So Palestinians are literally Philistines, number one. Number two, Islam isn't ethnicity. The Uyghurs are Chinese Islamic people, which is weird because the last thing I want is some hashish smoking raghead backflipping and doing karate on me. But
Yeah, karate with a turban on. That's upsetting. Honestly, any Asian with a beard is upsetting. Okay, any Asian person who has any kind of beard or hair on their chin in some kind of full capacity is very scary. They look very weird. If Asians are gonna have facial hair, it has to be long and thin. Okay,
right.
only way it
But
works.
yeah, no. So what's going on with Palestine now? Technically, that's Israel. It's Israeli. It's like this. Say you owned a house in a neighborhood where there were a bunch of squatters, but you really took care of your property, really good, and then you had a family emergency where your sister's whole family went to jail.
There's a wildfire and you have to
country.
evacuate.
Or something,
sorry,
but
I
it's
talked
still
over
your property. You're just gone for, a year or two, but it's still your property. Then you come back to your property, and there's all these hobos, running trains on each other in the front yard, and you're like, hey, guys, okay, I know you haven't got anywhere else to run a train on each other. Tell you what, you guys can keep the backyard, just quit peeing in my house. And then they're like, how dare you? We want the whole house. And you're like, guys, I don't even have to let you in the backyard. And they're like, it's our yard. You weren't here. No. I locked up before I left. See, here's the thing. Israel never actually even fully left, like Israeli cities. Like, there are Jewish families who have been in Jerusalem for 3,000 years. It's just the majority of the people left in various diasporas owing to the Romans, etc. But there has always been a Jewish presence there. So the whole idea of Palestine as a legitimate territory is a misnomer that wouldn't exist if injustice weren't being perpetuated against the Jewish people. So it's a whole crazy thing.
We should just bomb them. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that ain't right. You don't want to
kill
do that.
everybody.
No,
Let's kill everybody, Frenchie. Let's do it. Let's get the guillotines out,
can't
Frenchman.
win
You like
violence.
that? Let's get the guillotines out. Start fucking chopping up Hamas.
You can't win. Two wrongs don't make a right, and that's where I think Mossad makes mistakes. But
Dude, the Mossad is worse than the CIA, bro. The Mossad is the CIA. You know what? We talk a lot
Yeah,
about
dude.
this fucking historical nonsense, but gosh, all these fucking nation states and the world wars and fucking the UN and the fact that we have to have NATO, the fact that China and Russia and they all with all the bombs, they all want to kill us. All these fucking border lines are they're bullshit. They don't even matter anymore. The internet connects us all. There are no borders. Okay? I don't even know. You're just making it all up, okay? The only reason Israel exists is because the United States wanted a third-party extension of their own fucking intelligence infrastructure. They wanted home base in Africa and the Middle East.
Nah.
Exert control.
Nah,
That's
that-
why.
that-
No, it's exactly because the Mossad is the
No,
CIA.
it's
They're
not.
the same guys. Same guys.
Nah, I'll tell you this much: Mossad, CIA, and MI6 are the same guys. No dispute there. But it doesn't follow that the U.S. That Israel exists because the U.S. wanted a wing of intelligence in North Africa. That's
Political expedience, Frenchie. Political expedience. It's half true. We'll do it. It's half true. It serves our purposes. The people want it.
No.
Let's do it.
No, Israel exists right now because, number one, that's always been their land since the days of Canaan. That's the only time it wasn't part of the ethnicity that is sprouted from Abraham.
Bro,
is when it was Canaan.
I don't even believe history happened, okay? Talk about that
I
stuff to
think-
me.
you know what?
Talk to me about the Canaanites. I don't like. This is my
I'll
problem. This
say
is my
this
problem,
much.
Frenchie. It's new world. We're in the new world. They're trying to make the new world. They're trying to make it orderly. I don't know if we can rely on history like we used to in the past, okay? I don't know if we can do
I'll
it.
tell you this much. A lot of the history we were taught is wrong, but it's not so wrong that a black dude invented the light bulb like Joe Biden said. We're not that wrong. That was a remarkable statement.
That's funny. That's
so
funny. Like if Joe Biden just starts attributing all great inventions to black people. That'd be funny. That'd be.
He's like, listen, Bill Gates is really black. He's just got a skin condition like Michael Jackson.
Wow.
Like Steve
Wow.
Jobs, black guy. Steve Jobs is not a white dude at all.
Jobs. I know the last name Jobs throws you off, but sorry, I'm Latin, I'm racist.
You know what?
I'm Latin and I'm racist. I'm Latin and I'm racist.
You know
and
what?
That's how it is. I don't know what to do with you people.
I figured it out, actually. Joe Biden is really Andy Kaufman.
Donald Trump's Andy
the
Kaufman,
ti-
though. What? They're all Andy
Oh,
Kaufman.
shit. Wait, but that's why they won't debate. They're the same guy. You've never seen them together, have you? You've seen Pence and Biden together. That's what it is. That's why Joe Biden had the top of his head removed, It's so that he could switch faces between takes for Fox. And that's why Biden's always so stupid, because it's Andy Kaufman using all his best Trump jokes with Trump, and by the time he's done with that, he's so tired he can't remember his lines.
Talking about, because you're talking about, comedy, because, I'm at this place with comedy where it's just like, I feel like other people are ruining it. Like, the comedians I perform with and, perform, like, it's just like, the ones I watch perform, the ones I perform on shows with, I feel like, they don't understand it and they don't get it and they're ruining their crowds and they're not gaining. Like, am I just surrounded by morons? Is Joe Biden a moron? Are there only morons in life? Am I a moron? Is everyone just so stupid that we think we're all stupid? I'm just so lost. Andy Kaufman, he showed us a lot about comedy, and that's what I'm getting at. It's like, Andy Kaufman, he does these things. It's like, is it intentional? Is it ignorant? Is it malicious? It's like he's playing with all that shit we see in real life where it's like you can't even fucking tell the difference between these people. You don't even know what their intentions are. They don't even know what their intentions are. Fucking Andy Kaufman comes out with the fucking bongos. I'm like, is he even gonna fucking play them? Does he even know if he's gonna play them? It's all so fucked up. I don't even understand, man.
Well, I'll tell you this much. You're dead on that. A lot of the people who identify as comedians are ruining comedy, and they're totally ignorant of it. And it's sad, because the same people who are doing that are the ones who are responsible for BLM, Antifa, and the lockdown. And those are the biggest factors killing comedy right now. It's the political ideation behind those extremist groups and the political power which made it possible to lock down the world for the common cold.
What about the virus? What about the virus?
The
virus.
Yeah, that common cold virus that...
It's a new common cold that vitamin D makes completely irrelevant. Vitamin D completely makes that virus irrelevant. If we all just had vitamin D, we wouldn't even be doing any of this shit. Yeah, whatever.
It's the weakest stinking virus. What is it? It's like 10,000. It's under 10,000 in the U.S. have died from that alone. The rest have comorbidities like, I don't know, cancer, diabetes, or an officer's knee to your neck in the case of George Floyd, who is listed as having corona. So
we need to find that paper. We need to see, like, it's like I feel like we're all so caught up. We're all just so caught up by these small fucking useless, like, the fact that George Floyd is a COVID death. If it's propaganda, if it's not, if I want to see the paper, I don't want to see the paper. Like, what is it? All these fucking things we're told, I don't even think matter anymore. The things I read, gosh, it's like propaganda finally worked on me. It's like I don't even believe anything. It's what happened.
Well, here's the thing, and you actually did incidentally hit on it when you talked about the CIA earlier. The majority of our mainstream media has been straight propaganda since before our parents were born, and the evidence is the OSS, which is the Operational Special Services or Office of Strategic Services or something. The OSS was established during World War II for intelligence, and it worked in conjunction with British agencies that became MI6. And after World War II, these agencies that were working together as the allies against the Axis powers split off into MI6 and the CIA, like officially. Like that, I haven't told it exactly as it happened, but essentially, if you cut off all the gloss, that's what happened. Is the OSS became the CIA, and MI6 really gained prominence around that time. And I am convinced that the majority of media and cinema since that time has been influenced by government groups, and I'm almost positive before that the same level of propaganda existed, but it wasn't under the same amount of organized control as it was after the OSS became the CIA. Because I look at the Oscars, and I can't think of an Oscar movie that I have enjoyed as much as a basic blockbuster. Not one. I mean, even there's a few where they cross over, like Jurassic Park had like a visual effects, but Jurassic Park has some propaganda in it. And my theory is every
like
Oscar...
What do you mean, like evolution? Do you think evolution's propaganda, Frenchie?
Evolutionary ideology is in part propaganda. It is, but
baby.
But
the causes of life. It's propaganda.
Well, but even worse than that, Steven Spielberg always has something to do with kids being terrified in his movies, and part of the reason for that is he's big.
Yeah.
He's a big old creep, and
big
there's
old
that
pedo.
goes.
Big old pedo.
I mean, the dude's a sadistic son of a bitch, and it's horrible and sad, and it makes me sad because I like a lot of his movies, but as an adult, knowing what I know now, looking back, I can see it clear as day. And the thing is, with Oscar movies in general, when you look at them, I do a bit about how Disney's trying to get kids involved in drugs, sex, or the occult. It's the same with Oscar movies, but with them, it's trying to vindicate an immoral practice by using emotional manipulation in the form of enchantment. That's what these films are doing. They're literally putting an enchantment on you. Just like we used to read about as kids, the witch doing the thing with the music and the potion. Well, it is the same thing actually. It's just we don't recognize it because different terms are used. Instead of a potion, the term is popcorn and Coca-Cola, which work in a Pavlovian sense to reinforce the psychological manipulation coming through the silver screen at you. So you don't even realize it's there. Every time you eat a piece of popcorn, you're just reinforcing it, just like that bell on those dogs that Pavlov had salivating in Russia. Same thing. It's different terms, and it's in a different setting than how we learned that. So we don't realize.
Same thing, ding ding. Same thing, ding ding.
But there you go. There you go.
Fucking
So,
ready? Fucking start slobbering, bitch.
I'm doing it right now. So all these Oscars, I'm convinced that the award is given out not for the quality of the film, but for the quality of the propaganda hidden in the film. And there's very few films. There's very few films I think where that doesn't apply. I'm sure there's an outlier. I'm sure there's a fringe bit, but especially with films that have kids in them, because the Cuties movie just came out, and it's horrible like that. But here's the deal.
Who wrote
I've been
that
on.
shit? It's not getting. No one likes that, by the way. No one anywhere likes that movie. No one anywhere is liking that movie. I don't know what happened.
Except for the critics, who are all a bunch of perverts, and that's how you know that the game. You go to Rotten Tomatoes. Here's what it looks like. The critics gave it like a 90% positive, and the audience gave it like a 7%.
90% positive. That's actually the ratio of AIDS in your blood when you watch that movie. I don't know. I can do that. Yeah,
that's
90%
pretty on point.
Virulent disease. Gosh. It's so troubling out here, man. It's just gosh, it's like I don't know what benefits anybody. It's like, is my own paranoia beneficial to some people I don't even know about? Like, that's how paranoid I am. I'm afraid of it. I'm paranoid about being paranoid. That's how paranoid I am,
What you need to do is get you close to the good Lord, and he'll clear a lot of that up for you. But I digress. What I was saying is, I've been on movie sets a couple times. Not a lot, but a few times. Like, we're talking a dozen times or so. And it's not a place for children, even if there's not pedos there. And there are pedos there, but it's not a place for children because everybody's walking around high or drunk, cussing, slapping each other on the butt, yelling, screaming, acting immature. It is not a place for children. And what'll happen is you'll see kids on these sets, and their parents are nowhere to be found. There's just some PA keeping an eye on them, and they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be doing that at all. It's pretty horrible. So that's how it is when the film isn't even about the kids. They're just there as like a part of the story, like in Jurassic Park. When that's the case, exponentially compound that horribleness for a film like Cuties, where they're teaching a bunch of 11-year-olds to twerk. That's because they had to shoot those scenes multiple times, and they had to rehearse those scenes. And that means those kids had to go with some adult dance instructor who's teaching them scenes. And those kids have to get it just right or get yelled at and, slapped around, and all sorts of adults do. When I was 12 years old, I did a theater production in my hometown. And it was for this thing called Performing Arts Workshop. And basically, it worked like this. Parents could pay a certain amount, and their kids would get to be in this play that was put on professionally by actual off-Broadway and Broadway people who, let's face it, they weren't doing good, or they wouldn't be doing this in Wyoming. But they would train the kids, and they would put on a play at the end of 2 weeks. And you know what? there were some creeps running that. I remember because there was this old gal who was running it who was like in her 50s, and she took me aside one day to run lines with me, and the old bat would never wear a bra. And she was like 50 and fat and had these big old nipples. And she said, and I'm 12 years old.
She used to be a pretty actress, remember? She used to be a pretty actress.
She must have been, but she's like, I'm supposed to be Long John Silver. And she's sitting here running lines with me in a single room. And I'm sitting here like, oh, I could remember my lines if you just put a sweater on. What are you doing, Maud? I don't remember what her name was. But she was doing that, and then they brought in these choreographers from New York who would yell and cuss at these kids to try and get them to learn the choreography because they didn't have people skills. These are actors. And now they've got to lead a bunch of kids, and they don't have people skills. So even at the Midwest level, that kind of... There's bad stuff going on with those people. So when you translate that to a film which is about that sort of thing, we didn't even got to talk about Corey Feldman and Corey Haim and what Charlie Sheen did to him on set one day. It's some bad stuff. Bad Mojo Jojo.
Man, I mean, you know, to think that, you know, you go to a place and to get abused, you know, it's so crazy. Is that, like, you know, people set up these fucking traps. They set up traps for you.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you're like a fucking fish in these waters. We're all potential victims, Frenchie. I don't, you know, and maybe that's part of the mindset. You know, it's like you hear about all these bad things happening to people, and then you start getting afraid. You start thinking to yourself, what if something bad happened to me? What about me? All these. What if I'm a kid? What if I want to be an actress? What if I something bad? You know, and you gotta, you know, it can happen to anybody. And you start getting afraid. You start changing everything. You know.
Well, there was a time when this wasn't as big an issue as it is, but let's be honest here. It's been a problem since at least at minimum, and probably all the way back to the beginning of film, but at minimum, you can trace it back to the 60s, and one of the reasons you can definitely do that, you're familiar with The Godfather, right?
You mean Terrence, my mother's old friend?
No, but you know the movie, The Godfather.
Oh, the movie. Oh, right, okay. All right, Sonny. You go get shot in the booth, okay, Sonny? You go get shot in the booth, Sonny.
Yeah. Well, with both the book, which was written by Mario Puzo, and the film, there is a producer in Hollywood who, I think it's the singer's going to get some help from him or something, and the producer won't help him. And so they put his favorite horse's head in his bed with him, and it freaks him out. That guy in that movie...
Yeah, go ahead.
That dude in that movie who got the horse's head in his bed, the dude's a pedo. In the film, there's like this 13-year-old girl, and her mother brings him to the guy so that she can be an actress. And basically, he casting couches this girl. And the reason that was put in there and the reason it was believable is because that sort of nastiness was known in Hollywood at least in the 60s, which tells me it had been around a little longer than that.
Yeah, well, gosh. You really do think. It's like, is there a world where that shit's okay, Frenchie? Is there a world where that shit's okay when you don't have the internet, when you don't have fucking shit to do, when you can barely read? Like, is there a world where that's
no,
right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No, there's no world anywhere where that kind of thing is okay. There's a line that needs to be drawn. And
she wanted to be an actress, Frenchie. She wanted to be an actress. How do you become an actress besides do that?
Well, you know what? You actually bring up another great point. Because when I was in high school and college, we'd have these people who were professionals in the industry, you know, not doing great. We're talking like D-list people. But they'd come through, and you'd say, well, how do you know if somebody can be an actor or an actress? And they'd say, well, we're looking for somebody who has it. And you're like, well, what's it? I was like, well, you can't tell, but you know when you find it. I know what it is. Now you do too. It's somebody who has such a low opinion of themselves that they will whore themselves out to these utter scum buckets for the prospect of fame. That's what it is. And I don't have it.
Well, Frenchie, no, think about it. How do you really know someone's a good actor? How do you really know someone's a good actor? You fuck them when they don't want you to, and they still pretend it's all okay. That's how you know it. That's great acting. Great acting is getting raped and pretending it's okay. That's great acting. I don't know what's wrong with you. It's like you don't even understand.
That's why Harvey Fierstein is so well revered, because he really brings out the faking in these actresses. He teaches them how. He's
seriously,
like,
there is something fucked up, okay? You know, I can talk about my fucking fucked up life all day. You know, I had a lot of good in it, okay? My life was really great a lot of the time, you know? But, you know, in the fucked up parts of it, it's like, yeah, that's what acting, that's where it all comes from. It's like fucking pretending. You know, I was afraid a lot of my fucking, you know, a lot of weekends. I spent a lot of weekends afraid, okay? But I had to pretend I wasn't, you know? I had to pretend to be stronger than that, to fucking, you know... If I started acting like a little bitch, you know, I'm just gonna get hit more. That's, you know, that's how it was. And that's why I'm so fucking, you know, on it sometimes, is because I know what it's like to fucking pretend and hide your feelings, and I can see it in others. And, you know, there's something
well,
real
you know
about
what's
that.
interesting? You're actually onto something there, too, because, okay, so I got the BA in theater, because I was really naive. I didn't realize.
Man,
I
you
thought
have to be gay
showbiz
to-
was...
yeah.
No. I thought, here's what I thought showbiz meant. I thought showbiz meant people didn't value you for your skill, they valued you for your appearance. That I was like, okay, that's shallow, but I can get in shape, I can work hard, I can make, you know, that's what I thought it was.
Shallow,
I didn't realize
that's shallow, but I'm good looking, right?
Yeah. I
least.
figured, I was like, okay. As I got into theater and got my BA, a lot of these professors would do these vulnerability exercises because they wanted you to be vulnerable, you know, and
I'm vulnerable,
no, this is too vulnerable. but the thing was, you know,
You're on all
I
fours,
didn't
you're on
notice.
all fours, just wearing a kilt. It's too vulnerable.
How vulnerable can you be? Do you want this part? I didn't realize what it was back then because I thought these were professionals and that sort of nastiness was just something people talked about. It wasn't a real thing. I didn't realize. But they were grooming people is what they were doing. And they started in high school. You really want to find the nasties. You look at the theater department in the high school and you will suss them out very quickly. But a perfect example. I got my bachelor's degree at Cornell College, not Cornell University. That's the real version. I got it at Cornell College, the Sam's Club version. And
Okay,
in this
all right.
in this college, it's in Mount Vernon, Iowa, and it's an undergraduate college. You can get a 4-year degree, but you can't get a master's or a doctorate there. And they had fraternities, which was a joke because you can't get a doctorate or a master's there. So it's just a social club that acts like it's a big deal. But there were 3 that were really influential there, where people would get ties and they would go on to have a career because basically they'd get their degree and then find whoever else was in the frat and where they worked and get a job. But the one that concerns us for this discussion was a fraternity called the Owls. Now,
Fraternity
in
just
2000,
called the Owls? That is something they made up recently. There's no history to that fraternity. There's no like fucking amazing story. It's like, you know, Alpha, Kappa, Pi. We were, you know, we can trace our lineage back to the Greek Spartans. And you know.
well, I don't know what they had Greek letters. I don't remember what they were, but they were just called the Owls, and they were supposed to be the.
They were the Hoot Hoot. Was that okay? Oh, man, I wish I'm so close to being funny right now. If I just performed on stage a couple more times, I'd be there with these jokes. I'd be right there with it.
Man, I missed being on stage, I'll tell you that much. But they were sort of the elite group where all the smarty pantses went. Now that I know about Moloch and Bohemian Grove, I realize these were just kids between the ages of 17 and 23 who were being groomed by perverts. I didn't know that. But the Owls were the elite group. And one of the theater people that I knew in college, a guy named Matt, he was part of the fraternity group, the Owls. And he was getting the leads in all these plays. And, you know, I didn't put 2 and 2 together because I didn't believe the world. I wasn't cynical. There was a play. Are you familiar with the play Equus?
What?
The play Equus. Are you familiar with it?
I know about 7 plays.
about 5 of them are Shakespeare's, and the other one is the play called The Dollhouse, and then another play that I saw live and I don't remember.
Well, I know I'm familiar with Henrik Ibsen's The Dollhouse. Equus,
I remember that
believe
live play. It was such a good live play. It was in Pasadena. I sat next to a really pretty girl. It was a very fun play, very nice play.
That's all that matters with theater. You just go there with a girl. Don't pay attention to what's going on stage. When she laughs, you laugh. That's it. Anyway, this play Equus.
You're talking about sexuality in the theater industry, and then I'm talking about watching a play with a pretty girl. There's all these fucking factors that are okay and not okay, and I know it's obvious to differentiate between them, but it seems that like some people are getting confused by it. So sometimes I feel like I ought to get confused by it just to fit in.
You did see that South Park where whenever you go to the guys took the gal to the musical, they'd get a BJ. It's actually kind of true. But anyway, so this play Equus it's written by Peter Shaffer, and he also did the play Amadeus, which became the movie Amadeus. But Equus is about.
Oh yeah, I clipped Amadeus, for this. Gosh, I have no time to edit anything I really want to, but yeah, I clipped it to put it into the show that I do. And yeah, that movie's fucking freaky, bro. That movie is weird. It's a bunch of.
It's weird. Apparently Mozart liked farts. Yeah, I don't know if that's true about Mozart liking farts, but that's what Peter Shaffer thought. Because what they try and do is they try and rewrite history to reflect the sort of base, shallow stupidity that defines things like Hollywood today. But I digress.
Hold on. Vain, shallow stupidity. Moats fart.
Okay, well,
we linked all that together, right?
I shouldn't.
We put that one together, right?
I shouldn't have dignified that with a laugh, but fair. Anyway, so Equus is a play about a boy. He's like 16 in the play or something. And he becomes sexually attracted to horses. His name is Alan Strang, and in the play, he rides horses naked and gets aroused. And it gets to be such a problem that he gets a chance to make it with a flesh and blood woman, and he can't get it up, so he gets pissed off and blinds a bunch of horses in rage. And here's the thing about it. That scene where he tries to make it with a woman is on stage, and a young actress and a young actor get butt naked in front of the whole cast and audience. And we're talking 19-year-old kids here, okay? It's not illegal, but it's pretty creepy for a college to do that. They shouldn't be doing that. I don't care what you're trying to... That's something, you wait till people... I mean, granted, it's technically legal, but it's pushing the boundaries. And this play was performed at Cornell College. Matt played Alan Strang, and I played one of the horses. Thankfully, I...
That really made me laugh. That really made me... I just think that's funny, but just the phrase and in context is like, the thing that there's like your friend's the leading man, and then you're just the horse. But then you're in this like bigger context. There's a lot to laugh at in that.
It is funny. It's true too. Thankfully, I wasn't one of the horses, because one of the horses was a big, strong Jewish guy, and that was the guy that ran around with the actor on his shoulders, pretending to gallivant through the prairie at night. I'm glad I wasn't that guy. But anyway, this is in Iowa, by the way. This is middle of Iowa. In the play, the theater professor who runs it has a young lady and a young guy get naked on stage, and they have to simulate being involved with one another. And then they have to perform it in front of the whole student body. Now, thankfully, they rehearsed this. The one thing, they would have the rest of the cast leave except for the guy and the gal and the director, which is still pretty perverse because this guy's in his 50s and he looks like a pervert. But they'd have the guy and everybody else leave, and then he'd watch him get naked and direct them. Wonderful. The thing I remember the most about that play is when Matt gets mad that this has happened, that he can't get it up with this gal as the character Alan Strang, what he's supposed to do is take an ice pick and blind all the horses. And what they did for us, there were like 4 to 6 of us that had like a horse's like a mechanical horse head with a string that we would pull and make noises with. And so what I can remember from that play is this kid butt naked jumping up on a bench and running at me with a mimed ice pick. And you had to look at him because he has to stab you and you have to fall the right direction. But the thing is, he jumps up on a bench. So guess what's coming at me right at eye level every time I'm in the middle of this play?
It's fucking dick.
That was it.
Dick.
It was this dude's chote's coming at me, so I'll never forget
Fucking
that. But
big old
anyway,
dick.
no, it wasn't. It was a chote. But anyway, I digress.
Big
So-
chode, big fucking cheese wheel dick, just coming right at you.
there you go.
Fucking fuck.
Fucking
fuck.
So anyway, I was in this play, and I was first mad that I didn't get to be one of the parents or Alan, and that I was one of the horses. Then as we rehearsed the play, I was like, oh no.
Play aren't there?
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I was protected from having a much worse role by being one of the horses and not one of the main ones. It was good that I was basically just an extra.
Extra horse.
But as an adult, what I've realized is that play was grooming. It was a grooming play. It was grooming people to be morally flexible. It was grooming them to be okay with these horrible ideas. And that's in the Midwest. That was going on in 2006 through 2008. Okay, so that just tells you
something. You're talking about something, that has a lot of. Maybe ultimately, I think you're more than right. Ultimately, you're correct, and I think that stuff does. You're talking about grooming people. I think that stuff leads to action a lot of the time. You're talking about a lot of stuff that, I think it's like, you want to give me a minute to maybe try and lay something out, because you're talking about something, because
sure.
That's your real life experience, right? That's your real life experience.
Yeah. I'll never forget it.
Sometimes you have real life experiences and you can tell them and you know the truth of them, but somehow it's like, almost impossible to articulate that deeper meaning. You know what I mean? That that transcended, because a lot of the time it's like people know what the fuck is up, right? They know what's up, but they just can't find the words to say it because they know from their own experience and how they think of whatever the truth they discovered or thought of. They think of it in their experience, but it's kind of hard to share that with people. So maybe I'm gonna try and derive the truth from that fucking fucked up thing that happened, right? That weird thing that happened. You're telling me it's about grooming. And I think that's a lot layered into your experience, and I think that's true. But I think there's, how do you even lead up to that? How does it even, get there? You talk about, I talked about intention earlier. Of course it's there's probably, 3 things going on. There's probably 3 things. First thing is the guy who wrote it, right? The guy who wrote it. The guy who wrote it, maybe he wants to make a point. Maybe he's talking about his own life. I need to know more about that. And then 2, it's
ostensibly the point was you had to get back in touch with nature, or you're going to do something funky like blind a bunch of horses because you can't get it up because you went the wrong way, and it's modern society's fault that Alan became a pervert. But that's ostensibly the point.
So that's his point. That's
realistically,
what he says, right? That's what he says the point is. That sounds like the best version of what he could come up with. That's, honestly, the whole play sounds like his whole fucking fever nightmare. You know what I mean? It sounds like something a lot of my comedy sketches are actually some terrified thought I have that I'm trying to make real. I have a bunch of, a sketch where I'm in a fucking dress and a mop and I put on fucking cookie dough as lipstick. That's my fucking nightmare. Okay, the one with the fucking future. Yeah, the one we did, the couple ones we did where I have to fucking buy an RV from. These are nightmares I have. Okay, so I don't know about the guy who, whenever people fucking write things, okay, this is again, I think it's the same thing I'm talking about. It's like they have their experiences and they have their feelings that they couldn't articulate into a real fucking functional thought, to a real fucking functional truth. So they create this fucking story around it, and it's human nature. That's beautiful or whatever. Okay, that's one thing. I don't really trust.
Right.
The person who writes something. They fucking they create it. Whatever it means and whatever it is, I could care less. I don't even think they know, truthfully. Okay? So they made it, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
They made it, and thank you, Donald, for letting me use that phrase. It is what it is. Okay?
That's layer
Okay,
number
that's the
one.
And I think now this is the second part where it's like, okay, fucking, you know, talk about acting as like a fucking, you know, art, like a historical medium. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we even start acting, right? You know, how do we, you know, talk about human history?
Yeah.
Is it like a biblical thing? What are we reenacting? The things we decide to reenact. Every culture has their own fucking plays and their, you know, what kind of fucking person becomes an actor? You know what I mean? Talking about, you know, the whole thing. You wanted to become an actor, right? But like, you know, the real actors, Frenchie. The real
Well, it's
actors,
either
the Jennifer Lawrence's.
it's
You know, the ones that take fucking 138 fucking thousand naked pictures of butt plugs in their fucking butts and are famous for it. You know, like who are those people? They're the real actors. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, amazing actor, fucking just surrounds himself just gang banging models all day. Like I don't know, maybe I think the whole art of performing comes from a sick place, honestly. In human nature, I think it comes from a sick place.
It might, man. Well, here's the thing. Part of the reason I got into theater in the first place was to prove not only sick people do that, to be honest with you. I wanted to prove that sometimes people can get into artistic places without being on the far left and perverse. I did. That's one of the reasons I wanted to prove that wasn't all there was. And it isn't, but it is sadly a big part of that industry, and it's a lot bigger than I thought when I was a teenager. I got into it. I wanted to be Luke Skywalker, be in a Star Wars film. It's a whole thing, but now that I know what I didn't know then, it's like, maybe I should have just welded. Anyway, but you're right, though. I think there is a lot of...
I should have been a welder. Yeah.
For real, man.
Hey, Frenchie, I'll tell you right now, all this fucking janitoring I've been doing, you think I'm not a skilled motherfucker at this point? Like, all this janitoring I've been doing, you don't think I'm talented? You don't think I can fucking clean the fuck out of something if I really fucking wanted to? Okay? Yeah. I learned to weld. Let's say it, okay? I know what you mean by that, man.
Yeah. So anyway, I think you are right, though. A lot of these people who get into it, unfortunately, they do come from a sick place. So that's the number two. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I want you to interrupt. I need some interrupting. You know what I mean? I need to come up with my next thought. I need time.
Yeah.
I need some time to. You know. The
enough.
way you say it, it's like, yeah. I mean, that's that other part where it's like, you know, that's not exactly what I'm talking about right now. I'm gonna kind of go on a little bit of a small tangent. It's like, you know, a comedian is a good example of someone who like, you know, has a lot of natural inclinations, but constantly fights them. You know what I mean? Has a lot of like natural impulses, but the humor and the funniness is like the confusion and whether they should or not. And you know, that's what we really like from comedians is like, you know, people who can. You know, I think comics come from a life of like dichotomy. You know what I mean? Where it's like you see a lot of extremes and you're always comparing stuff. You know. I mean, talk about but there is a lot of emotional stuff involved too. But when I think of where actors come from, I don't think of like some kind of I think it's their life was one extreme. Comedians, I feel like we see all sides of it. We see both sides of life sometimes. Like for me, I went to a Christian high school, and then I went home to the dangerous city in America. That's what I did. And that was a weird dichotomy to see. But actors, these people, they come from, fucking one kind of places. Chris Pratt comes from, he's a comedy actor. Has he ever done stand-up? Please tell me right now, but works my whole argument falls apart.
No, he has not done stand-up.
So
he's just an actor.
So, he comes from Hawaii, That's one kind of life. Those guys are one kind of life people. You know what I mean? It's like you have the one kind of life, and it's, people try to make you live some other kind of life, and you don't dig it, and you don't do it, and you're just an actor. You know what I mean? You're always, you're floaty. You live your life, and that's that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when those people, like, I feel like if, those people come from, like sexual, like, they're hot. They're always hot, actors are always so hot, and maybe it's, a kind of a tautology that happened a long time
that's
ago,
at the A-list.
Where it's like, all these perverts from Hollywood would only cast hot people, so now only hot people become actors. Maybe it's some kind of like thing like that. But I feel like, Jennifer Lawrence, this lady who's a great actor, has been getting fucked since day one, and she likes it, and that's her life, okay? And I'm just,
That's part of it. Let me put it to you this way. The hot ones are the ones you see at the A-list.
yeah. Okay.
On the fringes, that ain't quite the case. But here. Are you familiar with John Le Carre? He wrote the book it became a movie. It's called The Spy.
Yeah, I think to that guy, I'll say his name is John. I don't care. Okay. No.
Well, he also wrote one called The Little Drummer Girl, and in that book, it's about an a couple of people. One of them who is an actress, and she's supposed to pretend she's like pro-Islam when in reality she's just an actress hired by an intelligence group.
Oh, that's interesting.
But one of the things he says, yeah, it's a pretty good book actually. One of the things he says, and it's actually quite profound, is that the best actors and actresses are sort of empty inside and don't really have their own personality. And that's why they're so good at acting, is because through playing roles, they actually get a personality. They inhabit somebody else. Outside that, they're nothing. And here's the thing.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again. I'll get to that third thing, but you want to hear...
You're good.
You want to hear one of the first jokes I ever wrote?
Certainly.
Actors are not interesting. I hate actors. All right, the only actors that are interesting are only interesting because they're not actually actors. Like Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
It's like, you go see a Samuel L. Jackson
thing.
movie, you're not like, what new incarnation is Sam this time? You're like, what new person is Sam? You're like, okay, this is Sam with an eye patch and this is when he has a fro and a gun, and this is what Sam does when he's around snakes. Daniel Craig. No, not Daniel Craig. What's that guy's name? Fucking There Will Be Blood. Daniel Day-Lewis. That guy, Daniel Day-Lewis. That guy,
yeah,
a real actor. And that guy's boring as fuck, okay? He's a cobbler. He makes shoes. Okay? Children make shoes. Daniel is not an interesting guy. Okay, anyway. Sorry.
You nailed it, though. You nailed it. And that's the thing. I didn't know that about actors until I had a degree as an actor, and I was poised to move to L.A. and try and make it in the film industry. And then God saved me, because I prayed over a coin and flipped it over whether or not I went to L.A. or I went to Colorado when I came to a crossroads in my life. And I was thinking, okay, I'm not going to be able to work at the coal mine anymore. And I got my BA in theater, and I just paid off my debt. So, I try and work at another coal mine. I did. That's how I paid off my college debt.
You worked in a coal mine. A coal mine. This is the first time I've ever heard
about
this.
Okay, well, let me clarify. It wasn't like Zoolander where I go down on an elevator with a pickaxe.
Right, there were no canaries, right?
Right. That kind of mining, I don't even know if it exists like that anymore, because we have machinery today and it's been industrialized. So how mining looks today, if you're inside a mountain, then you go down there and they put down a bunch of tracks and there's a bunch of machines that do the work, and you're just managing the machines underground, and you do have to crouch around a bit and it gets hot. That's on the East Coast. There's very few mines like that. The majority of coal mining today is called open pit mining, and it's closer to a quarry, and it works like this. You remove the overburden, that's the dirt on top of the coal, and then you go and follow a coal seam until you've used it up. And that coal seam will move like 30 miles. So you have this pit that's about 500 feet deep and about a mile wide, and it follows the coal seam for 30 miles. It basically, and as it behind it, they have to reclaim the land. So basically, the pit looks kind of like a spiral, and you're in one of those big old Tonka trucks, the big old dump trucks that had the little cab. You're driving one of those, and you drive it down into the pit, and you. I did. Yeah, that's what I did. And you drive under a shovel, and the shovel dumps coal in you, and you drive out of the pit, and you dump your load on a conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt takes that load to train, basically a silo, and the
Wait,
silo
your,
dumps it into a
that,
train.
that, a
So
belt
that's what.
takes your load to a train. I think I've seen that porno.
Yes, it was one of the theater productions that is so
Hey!
nasty.
Oh!
But yeah, that's so. I was working at that mine to pay off my college debt. It was a godsend. I got the job. I was making like $5,000 a month right out of
my
college. I
God.
did that 5 months
Oh
straight.
my God! You can see.
Yeah,
see
and I
why-
made it up.
Man, I would totally destroy the Earth's climate to make that much money. Oh man, if I do that for that much money, then
Well,
I
I
who knows
was-
what those guys are doing.
I was working more than 80 hours a week for 5 months straight to
80?
do that. But I made my. Yeah, because you do day and
12
night
hours.
shifts, and you
12
had
hours?
to do the night. Yeah, 12 hours, and then between a day shift and a night shift, you had to take a mandatory 24 hours off. But as long as you did that, you could sign up for as much overtime as you could handle. And so I just did that for 5 months straight. And by October of 2008, the year I got my BA, I paid off my college loans because I had a few scholarship and a loan, so I didn't actually owe the college. I owed the bank. And I didn't owe them for a student loan. I had my parents co-sign on it so that I didn't have to go through that crazy student loan crap. Anyway, that's all a side note. When I was at the mine, it was about a month before they were going to let me go. They weren't going to let me stay on full time at this mine. I got on as a summer intern paying off college because they have a program for that out here. And so I came to a crossroads. And my crossroads was heads, I find a job at another mine here in Wyoming and make enough money that I can coast off it for about a year in LA. And then once I have that nest egg, I go out to LA. That was heads. Or tails, I accept that my job at the mines is done and my debt's paid, and I go to Colorado and maybe try and find stand-up comedy. So I prayed over it and I flipped the coin and it came up tails, and I went to Colorado to do stand-up. And that was in 2008, and I couldn't find stand-up for 3 years. I gave up because I couldn't find it. Like the first 3 weeks I looked, I just gave up. And then I got a DWAI and brought me around to stand-up. But it was such a godsend because if I had gone to L.A., as was my original intention at the ripe old age of 21,
been gay.
bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and total... Yeah, well, I'd have ended up in Van Nuys doing smut pictures. It'd have been one of the two.
Oh man.
I mean... That's what happens to Midwest people. They just don't know. But, the good Lord knew I had a good... He knew better. He knew I had a good heart, and I didn't want to do any of that. I was just ignorant and naive. So he's like, nah, son, listen. You're an idiot, so you need to go to Colorado and figure this out for a while. And then maybe I'll send you out to L.A., and you can see why I put the brakes on that. And I did, and he did, and I was like, oh, hey, God, by the way, thanks. Appreciate it. Didn't realize it was this bad. Thank you, though.
Well, I've always said that God is lucky, and that brings me to my third point of what I think your story is really about. Your
Certainly.
experience was really about, and how it all happened. It's like, I think about plays, I think about comedy like this. I think about, these vlogs I watch on YouTube I see these Instagram live videos of yours where you're just fucking, it's like a selfie fucking outlook. And I think when you really talk about stuff, it's about the medium, right? I mean that literally too. It's like, this podcast is a medium, right? It's a medium.
As in a middleman between concepts? Well, how do you mean?
See,
medium?
yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about. It's like, for some reason, I feel like, things need to get translated all the time. It's like, literally on Earth, we all don't speak the same language. You know what I mean? It's like we all don't quite, we're not all using the same words. We all don't get it. Okay? Maybe we can, maybe there's some things we get, but we don't, at least we can tell people are trying to say more than we understand, right? So I
Right.
feel like a lot of the time we need
Right.
a medium. We need a kind of way, a path, a channel, right? To
An outlet.
to understand what the fuck they're talking about, How can you put what you're thinking
see.
into a way somebody can understand? Right? So I feel like
I see what you're
and
saying
I feel
there.
like, what I'm really talking, it's a medium because I feel like it's a neutral, balanced sort of, thing. I mean that literally. It's like that's what they mean
Yeah.
about it, but it's also some kind of fucking psychic shit. But also, what I'm talking about is like context. You know, comedy is all about context. But I feel like maybe why comedy is so absurdly.
Well, you're right, though.
Maybe I'll finish this real quick. This is the last thing I'll say. Then you fucking really talk about what I just said.
Yeah.
Comedy is about context, and I think a reason why comedy is so popular is because life is about context. You are where you are. You're born who you're born as. There's a lot of things you don't understand, but you see the way they are, and you can't change it. And it's just how it is. You're always in the moment, And it's like you saw it. It's fucking 9/11 today. We're recording this on 9/11. Okay, Frenchie, you forgot about? Did you forget? Did you forget? I forgot. I forgot.
No.
Frenchie,
I always get an icy.
I forgot. I genuinely forgot.
I always get an icy down at the 9/11. I'll go down there and I'll get myself an icy or a. No. I never forget 9/11 because it was an inside job.
I just wanted to. Yeah, right on. That's great. I like that. I just wanted to say.
I do genuinely believe.
I just wanted
that.
to say happy 9/11, everybody. Just happy 9/11. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are we going to celebrate, Kyle? Are we going to play Jenga with 2 sets?
We're gonna get on some airplanes, Frenchie, and try to be in charge. Okay, we're gonna fucking talk to
funny.
Mohammed bin Salman, ask him what he really wants.
What? Hey, Kyle, why are you wearing a towel on your head and throwing paper airplanes at a Jenga set? Don't you remember? It's 9/11. You're not supposed to never.
Yeah, I'm
forget.
sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys.
Man.
I talked to the UAE and they told me to do this. I talked to Iran and they thought it'd be funny. They thought it'd be funny for me to do this.
Oh,
Iran
man.
Iran really wants me to get crazy
Well,
with this shit. I don't know why.
Well, I do legitimately believe it's an inside job, and it's one of the things I had to come to grips with because as a young man, I didn't realize Bush was a bad guy. I thought it was a partisan thing.
I told
and the
my
attacks
abusive
that were
father to
against
vote
him-
for George Bush back in 2004. My abusive
Wow.
father
Well,
asked me. He asked me, Kyle, who should I vote for? And me and my brother, we both said George Bush.
Well, that's who I thought was the right guy to get in. What changed my mind on Bush was in 2009 because I turned 21 in 2008, and I voted for McCain, which he wasn't a good choice either, but I didn't know any better. The next year in 2009, I learned about Bohemian Grove, and I learned about the Skull and Bones, which I had thought were fictional things, but then I actually started looking into it, and I looked into what you had to do to be a Skull and Bonesman. And basically, you get sodomized in a coffin, or you do a little reach around action. And George Bush was a Skull and Bonesman, and he won't talk about what he had to do to get that. But when I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is a creep. And you see that's what changed me on him. I thought the rest of it because you.
Yeah, have you ever seen that
Go ahead.
photo of right when George Bush gets told about 9/11? You ever seen that photo? It's kind of a meme sometimes. Have you ever seen that photo?
Isn't it the one where he's in a classroom and
he's
he's
in a
like
classroom
yeah.
reading to children, and then he's told that not. You ever seen
Yeah.
that photo?
Have you seen actually Leslie Nielsen in one of the Scary Movies lampoons him? Somebody comes in and they're like, sir, there's been an alien attack. And he's like, well, that's just going to have to wait. He's like, sir, it can't wait. He's like, yes, but I have to find out what happens to the little kitten in this story. And it was a perfect,
Yeah.
it was a perfect criticism of
Well, yeah, I
Bush.
mean, you got to understand something about George Bush. Actor.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
an
because he's
actor.
really all Bush. All he really was is a cokehead Ivy League guy who was fulfilling a position for deep state operatives, puppeteering him worse than
Yeah, he was-
Obama. Him and Obama are buddies, and they had
Big
been.
pharma, oil. The governor,
yeah.
his brother's the governor of Florida, the state where the election was fucking decided. The fuck?
Yeah, well, but yeah. Now that said, you did say something profound earlier. I didn't mean to rabbit trail us. I'm good at that. the medium
I'm just talking about the context of life, It's just the
performance.
context. It's always like, fucking, all these people are in their own lives and they're fucking freaks, okay? They're fucking freaks. They don't know why, all right? What was my first point? I made a first point. What was the first one?
Well, you were talking about how theatrical productions and comedy, in terms of context and whatnot, acts as a certain way of interpreting intangible concepts that are difficult or impossible to define otherwise.
Oh yeah, about the
And I
artist,
think you're
about
right
the guy.
about
It's like,
that.
it's like we're all having feelings that we don't understand and are trying to articulate in ways that people, we're all in different contexts translating things we don't understand about feelings that we're acting on, and it makes no sense. We're not communicating effectively.
Well, I think
this is not good communication.
I think-
No one understands each other. Nobody understands each other. I do not understand you, Frenchie. I don't. You fucking wear a beret. You put on an eye patch. You play an accordion. I don't understand you. Okay. I am half Latin. Okay. No one understands that. No one understands that. My fucking talked to my grandfather in Spanish just now.
Well-
I'm across the border. I've driven in El Camino for 10 years. No one understands.
I think you're onto something. I think you're really onto something there, though. And here's the thing. I don't think it's just theater or stand-up. I think this situation you're talking about is actually one that defines all artistic output. I think all of our art is communicating and interpreting a certain truth or reality or beauty or concept, essentially. It's all about the concept and the emotional attachment being sort of reflected in a way that it sort of crystallizes and puts that emotional feeling, that sense, that idea in a spot where it can be taken and read or seen or felt and sort of tapped into as the viewer or the experiencer wants. Our art, essentially, at the very base level, whether it's true by the way it describes something, or it's so surreal and off in the high grass that it provides a contrast to truth, the core of good art is always going to be something that's true. And that, in my opinion, is one of the reasons pop culture sucks right now, is because it has instead focused on that which we all know in our spirit isn't true. Like a perfect example is WAP by Cardi B. I mean, I see some gal is just dripping like that all the time. It's not going to turn me on. It's going to be like, hey, sweetheart, go change your pants. That's weird. Maybe stick a cork in that thing. Why are you dripping all over what are you, a snail? What's going on here?
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
You know?
I like that. I like that angle. Yeah,
Right?
Well, it's the song is I mean,
Yeah, but you see
you've been
that-
talking about things and influencing people. That song is about we're all glad we're whores. That's what that song is about. I'm a whore. And
Yeah.
I'm glad. It's good. It's a good thing. I'm a whore.
Yeah, she's talking about bringing a mop. Listen, I've known some gals who, you might be called a super soaker, you might say. Never needed a mop. If you're that bad, just default, sweetheart. You're not horny and sexy. You have a physical issue.
Yeah.
You're bleeding and it's water. Something's wrong with you, Cardi.
Yeah.
And if you see her in her conversation with Joe Biden, she rocks back and forth. I think the woman's autistic.
Well, it's weird. It's like you see, if you see a guy with a boner all the time, that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah, if it wasn't WAP but HAD, a hard ass dick. That's that just sort of proves the double standard we've got with men and
We need
women.
to find a
Because if
male
some
Cardi
guys
B.
walking
we need to find
around,
a male Cardi B. We need to find a girl who's named after an alcohol not even right. Okay, Cardi B, she's Bacardi. That's what she's named after. She had to change it because she was, stealing.
no. What we need is Weird Al to just Just do the parody hard ass dick.
Okay.
That's what.
Well, you
that's
can
what-
do it, Frenchie. Fucking go get a camera. See, this is the thing. This is the thing. All right. This is what I'm about.
I'll
What
just,
I'm
I'll just
about
walk
is
around.
I need-
I'll walk around with an accordion.
Go ahead. Talk about your accordion.
Just walk around with an accordion. Walking around with an accordion, pitching a tent. Anyway,
that's
go,
funny, that's
go
funny.
ahead.
That's
What
funny.
do you?
Well, yeah, this is what I'm about, Frenchie.
Uh-huh.
I just want to make my life a certain way to where I can film you or, honestly, let's be honest, anybody just doing a parody of Wet Ass Pussy but calling it Hard Ass Dick. That'd be hilarious. I'd just film that. We'd do the music video. I would edit it. That's my dream. That's the kind of comedy we need to make immediately.
I love it. I love parody stuff, man. I got started on Leslie Nielsen, and
You really like Leslie?
you know, the
like
thing was,
Leslie?
I didn't-
Leslie Nielsen? You like Leslie?
it sounds like you're going to the question. Listen, I was young. Okay, here's the deal. When I liked Leslie Nielsen, though, I didn't realize what he was doing was satire. I learned the term parody, and in my young little prepubescent mind, the term parody meant Looney Tunes in real life, essentially. I didn't get 90% of the references. I was laughing at the ridiculousness of it. And because of that, I dovetailed into Steve Martin, who is even more satirical, but he was also more goofy. A lot of his comedy's just flat out goofy. And yeah, there's a satirical hipster element to it that was about 40 years ahead of its time. But again, I didn't notice that because I watched these when I was very young. I just noticed the goofy lunacy of it. And that's what informs a lot of my comedy is I realized because I saw those things, even though I didn't get the actual joke, something about it was still funny.
Inherently.
So, yeah, there is an inherent quality to good humor. Even though comedy is subjective, there still is an inherent humorous quality in
this is
certain
what they talk about.
archetypical
Yeah,
things.
this is what they talk about. They talk about the voice. I don't know who did it.
Yeah.
I don't know who did it. I don't know why all these comics who are ruining comedy talk about this all the time. But this is what they talk about, and maybe they're right. They talk about the voice. They talk about finding your voice. And what I really think, the voice is, what I really think they mean is like, what is the voice that you sound in that everything you say is funny? What's the voice that you could say?
Yeah, I think that's
anything
true, yeah.
that is funny. You could just say the way to talk, the channel, the context, the thing we're talking about. Your degree, your fucking, life maybe, all that. What's that shit? What's that fucking, what's the way? I mean, this is what I'm about. The way. How do you talk that fucking everybody
It's
gets
finding.
it? How do you do it?
It's finding whatever angle is specific to you that other people can
Dude,
resonate
Donald
with.
Trump
It's
can say
finding
anything.
the resonant
yeah,
frequency.
Donald Trump can
Yeah.
say anything because he found his voice. He found his voice. And he
He
found
did.
it.
And
he
what-
worked
what
on
is
it,
his-
all those years on The Apprentice, just working hard, just going. You fired. Okay, hold on. You fired. Hold on. You fired. Okay, is that right? Now hold on. Yeah, that's what he was doing, and now he can be president, and it's been great.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, well, we're on the right stuff.
Well,
about it. I just you talk about your art, Frenchie. You really care about your art a lot.
Well, I do. Here's the thing. For whatever reason, the good Lord has given me ability in terms of music, in terms of performance, and in terms of artistic creation specifically. And I'm talking, I don't have a right brain. My whole brain is left brain, even though I'm right wing, which is a dichotomy I've struggled with since I was a wee thing. But the point of the point is, I have definite talent and ability there, and I enjoy it. So all I want to do, ultimately, I'd like to make a movie that that has a real budget. But all I really want to do in life is be able to make a decent enough living to raise a family, doing the things I'm good at and talented at and enjoy doing. And for me, that's art in the form of music, in the form of fiction, sometimes poetry, performance in stand-up allows me to do it all at once. So it's kind of my favorite.
Live ticket sales. Gosh, I can never charge people for it. It's so hard to charge people for it. I always feel like, you talk about supporting your art and supporting, life, and I don't know. It's just like, what does it take for someone to think my art is good? And if they think it's good, I mean, if it's good, it should be good, and that should be the end of it, right? Why do they have to pay for it? It seems gay. Seems so gay. I like Tim Dillion's podcast, and I want to hear the other one he does a week, but it's on Patreon, and I have to pay money for it. And I think to myself, you know what? If he was really doing art, he wouldn't charge. But why do I want to pay? What the fuck's that about? I mean, sometimes I look at my art. I create.
Well,
I feel like I create art. I want to create art. Okay, but I mean, if I'm honest about my art, Frenchie, it's bad. It's a bad art, and I don't think art's supposed to be bad. I think it's supposed to be good. And if art's good, is it even art? I don't even understand, man. It's such a fucking fucked up thing.
No, you got to look at it like food, because technically everything's an art at a certain point. Even atomic structure. I mean, you back up large enough. We're living in the biggest, most extensive piece of art ever made, a live MMORPG wherein actual things can actually be done, and there are no real NPCs. Everyone's a playable character.
Wow.
The world we live in, the universe.
Wow, that's
the
crazy.
universe
Wow.
is the big.
Wow. You get it? Wow.
Wow. I see you're doing a World of Warcraft
Wow.
joke, but I just thought of Owen Wilson. I'll tell you what's wow. Owen Wilson looks like young Donald Trump, but I digress.
Wow. He looks like actually like
Wow.
Donald Trump, but he looks like Jared and Ivanka's kid. That's who he really looks like. Looks like Jared and Ivanka's kid grown up.
Yeah. He does. But, the world at a certain level is God's massive magnum opus. And we're made in God's image, so all of us have a desire to create, and there's an artistic element to any sort of creation. But here's what I was going to get at. With food, you have sweet tastes, and you have bitter tastes, and you have spicy tastes, and sour tastes, and milky, middle-of-the-road type flavors.
Umami.
All of them... Umami, that's an estrogen taste that gives you man
Okay,
titties.
well, never mind.
All of these all of these flavors are good and bad based on the context of the situation in which they're presented. Umami tastes delicious with a little bit of salt. You don't want umami in your ice cream. That's gross. I'm sure there's some culinary artist who could figure out how to make that work, but for the most part, it's not gonna. Here's my point.
Life's about the texture.
Art.
Not your part. Not your point, but yeah, I know.
Well, yes, but yeah, good and bad art. It's not so much good and bad. What makes it good and bad is if it's in the wrong context. But there is always a place. There is a place for weird, nasty, questionable stuff, and it's not in front of kids or anything like that. It's as sort of a parable to keep people away from that without aggrandizing and worshiping that. So what Cuties does wrong is it actually supports what it says it's not supporting. And that's the whole purpose of that, is to be subversive and to normalize child sexualization, which is horrible. However, a parable written down and in order to sort of keep people from forgetting the impact that our over-sensualized society has on young people, that's a bit of a different story, even though it's subject matter I wouldn't write about and I don't want to read about. There is an argument to be made for that. But you can't make it about the movie, because the movie includes children that are being put in that situation by dint of their involvement in the film. So that would be umami with ice cream. So you say that some of your art's terrible and bad. Not necessarily. The issue might be finding the proper context.
Frenchie, we need to find a safe space. Frenchie, we need to find a safe space for these
Nah.
films and these actions. We need to find a safe space for pedophiles to be pedophiles. How do we do it? Provide a safe space for pedophiles.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
Let's do it at the college. Frenchie. And you know what? A black box theater, that sounds silly. We should make it a pedophile den. We should make it a den of pedophiles to create a safe space for them so they can all understand each other.
So you're just talking So you're just talking about a normal theater department. No.
Oh.
But well, yeah, no, I'm not justifying that. What I'm saying is, there is a place for ideas that are disgusting to be perhaps artistically presented.
Yeah, safe space. I'm doing it again, Frenchie. I'm doing it again. It's a safe space. You're talking about a safe space. You want safe spaces? Is that what you want? You want safe space?
No, I'm not saying. No.
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying that.
It's funny.
Let me put it another way. The context where those ideas are not immoral is so rare, it's hard to think about without taking a step back and racking your brain for hours. Because some of that stuff, in fact, 99.9999999% of it is pure evil. So you can't really justify it in any way. However, that's not to say there isn't some situation where the question of the idea can't be legitimately explored artistically. But that's the only way I can say that is as an intellectual abstraction. I don't actually believe it's ever excusable, even in just a play that's never performed. I'm just making the argument that. I'll put it this way. All right, let me put it this way. We live in a fallen world that wasn't supposed to have sin in it.
There we go.
It wasn't supposed to have.
We're having trouble, so let's talk about the Bible. Let's do it. I love it. See, this is what I'm talking about again. This is exactly what I've been talking about, man. It's like, we all can't articulate fucking what we're thinking and feeling. So thank God for the Bible. Thank God for the Bible where we can fucking look at the Bible and there's all these amazing, beautiful, wonderful stories in it that really can fucking describe what we're talking about. You know what You know what I mean?
Well, it's definitely helpful. Well, here's the thing. The universe we live in is fallen, so we never should have had to see this dark side of intellectual possibility. The reason we have to see it now is we live in a broken universe of entropy, and that doesn't mean those things are good at all. Let me put it this way. Jesus dies and rises again, right? He's God. God comes into his own creation, and his creation murders him for no good reason other than he's good and they're bad, and they can't stand how good he is.
I heard he
now
was
God.
Black. I heard Jesus was black. And
nah,
the police murdered him.
He's Jewish.
No. Jesus was
Jewish.
black, and the police murdered him. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, we need a. Pontius Pilate needs to dissolve the police union and defund. Pontius Pilate needs to be defunded immediately.
You take a black dude and a white dude and you add them up and you divide by 2 and you get either an Arab or a Mexican.
Or a Jew.
But either way, he's a middle of the road brownie.
You take a white guy
or a Jew.
A black guy.
Well,
you
Jesus.
Divide by 2. You got a Mexican, a black guy, or a Jew. I don't know. Sorry, I'm ruining it.
It even rhymes. But no, Christ is Jewish, so he's neither black nor white. But anyway,
funny.
God inhabits his own painting, and his painting kicks him out. But in the act of doing that, he takes on all the bad aspects of his painting and makes it so that the subjects of his painting can take on actual form in eternity. So even though what happened to Christ was terrible, because he was beaten and scourged and murdered, and there's nothing good about murder. There's nothing. But because that was the means by which salvation and eternality were given to mankind, that horrible death is one of the most beautiful things that ever happened. And it's sad and strange, and we're not supposed to look at death and torture as beautiful, but the concept that God loves the world so much that he would take the hardest pain for that world he created because he literally put his own skin in the game. That's a beautiful concept, and in context, because he rose again, it's beautiful. Now, if Jesus didn't rise again, and he wasn't God, he was just a crazy man who got murdered by a bunch of assholes 2,000 years ago, it's not beautiful anymore. It's one of the most ugly and grotesque things you can imagine.
If Donald Trump got murdered, it'd be the most beautiful thing. He would understand that his sacrifice would help the world get along and be a better place. And because Donald died, we'd all have a chance to be happy in eternity. um, I'm sorry, I just got to throw a joke in there.
Well,
somewhere,
here's the
you know.
thing, very, very funny. Donald Trump ain't God though. Donald Trump's a man
No,
like any of us.
he's
So,
NBC's guy.
That's
at least for 2006 to 2014.
Well, anyway, that's the beautiful mystery of the Christ. So the thing is, though, this world wasn't meant for pain or anything like that. And in eternity, when those of us who have eternal life can stand back and see the totality of creation from Adam all the way until the end of Revelation, when we can see the big picture, the whole artwork, it's going to be a bittersweet thing that's unquestionably beautiful. Just like a song has minor keys and major keys and flats and sharps, and out of context, they're all ugly. All the notes are ugly out of context. In context, they become beautiful. Well, we are within the song. We are within the painting. We're within the simulation. So we have no way of seeing the totality of the simulation in context. But when we're eternal, we occupy another dimension, and then we get the ability to see the simulation in context. Wow. And we'll see that the things that were painful to us now are, in fact, something that serve to make us a piece of art.
Wow.
So there's things I don't understand because I think there's evil people that deserve to die. And I think a lot of them are these abusers. You know what I mean? But
if only Frenchie, we could translate all that you just laid out into a way that people could actually understand. And, gosh, any atheist who heard you is just fucking off. They're just off. Any atheist who ever thought about God one time is just off. They've turned their brain off. They've turned it all off. They're now staring at the red sun in the cloudy, smoky sky of California just going, fuck, I am racist. I am gay. I'm a theater major, and it's all been a mistake. And they listen to you, and they think to themselves, you know what? Even in this horror, I don't believe in God. Even in this horror, I'm listening to you, and I still don't believe in God. That's just what happened. That's what happened to all of us. If only we could translate all that truth.
That was pretty funny.
You said so much truth, and real great shit. It's really great shit you fucking said. And I understood it because, I went to Christian school for 7 years and spent a lot of time at church, and I really understand because that's the shit you fucking hear at a fucking church, and that's amazing what you said. It's really powerful. It really is gonna, it's gonna sustain me for a while. If only, people knew about church, they'd really understand you. And I really, I've dig this whole thing. We've been talking for 2 hours. It's been nuts. It's been crazy, right?
Yeah, we have been at it for a little while here. Well, just as I broke that wind hard just now. Man, it melted my own nose. Anyway. In the recording here, just turn it up a couple times. You'll hear the farts in the background. They're part of the artwork too, the comic relief. Here's the thing. A church, the term church, and you know this because you've been.
I've been
the
to
body
church.
of Christ.
I've been to church. Yo, I've been to church. I don't know what you're talking about, but I've been. All right. I don't know about you, but I've been to church.
So church isn't a building or a denomination. It's not those things. It says in Scripture, where 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them.
And that's the Scripture
that's
everybody believes in.
Part
Everybody
of church.
believes in that one.
Well, church is the body of Christ, right? So there is no Church of Scientology. They've basically they've shoplifted the term, and that's one of the reasons they're completely full of shit, is because they call themselves a church, but the church can only be the body of Christ. Jewish people have temple.
Scientology to
Islamic
me is that
people
blue
have
building.
mosques.
It's that weird building and set of buildings. That's what Scientology is to me. It's like what are all these weird buildings doing? That's what I think it is.
Well, that's just because they put all their money into real estate because they're savvy with money. That's all that is. But anyway, the thing about church is people equate the concept of church, which is a meeting place for people, with the concept of Christianity. And while the concept of Christianity does include the body of Christ, it's not necessarily in some chapel with a steeple and a bunch of pews. That's just a sort of modernized inversion. The reality is people who have come together in the name of Christ as part of the body. So sadly, what does keep a lot of atheists out is instead of actually examining the deeper concepts associated with this, they just look at the surface. All they do is look at the dust jacket and never open the book. And sadly, they'll hear buzzwords they don't like and tune out anything they don't like because it doesn't pacify their itching ears. Scripture does talk about that.
Talks about a lot of stuff. There are a lot of pages in that thing. Ever just flip through it? It's like, oh, why are there so many pages? Gosh, I got to read all of this? What is all of this? 2,000 pages? Ugh. Ugh. I mean, gosh,
I'll tell you what it is.
I'll
tell you what it is.
35, 40, 58 pages? Well, come on.
I can sum up Scripture 2 ways that are under 10 words.
Okay, was this a competition? Is this a competition? Because maybe I could do the same thing. No. We compete. I mean, because I remember youth group. Okay, I remember youth group. We would, the youth pastor would lob something up to us, and we'd start competing who could come up with the best answer.
Well, yeah, I remember that too. No. Scripture it says in John, in the beginning the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and et cetera, and the Greek word is logos. In one sense, Scripture is God represented 2-dimensionally. In another sense, Scripture is the only truly existent. It's a literary fractal.
Wait, like a stained
a literary
glass, or
fractal.
what are you talking about?
Well, a fractal is a shape in mathematics, a mathematically derived shape that endlessly repeats itself in infinite variations that have no end. They just have no end. And Scripture is like that. It is the only actual fractal in literature, in that it is a shape of truth that repeats itself endlessly, and you can never run out of the meaning in Scripture. It's infinite, even though it's finite. And that's a quality that no other text anywhere has. I mean, we're talking single letters in Scripture you can write an entire library of information and not get to the bottom of it. We're talking every single thing in Scripture has meanings that do not end. You can point to me any verse, and I can give you some context and show you where the mystery that I haven't figured out yet is.
Well, you have your Gideon Bible right on hand, right next to you, right in the drawer, right? It's in the drawer, isn't it?
No, it's a King James version, and it's right in front of me.
Oh, wow, right in front of you? Is it big? Is it thick? Oh, we can talk about Bible sizes. Where's my Bible? Gosh, I wish I had a book that I liked that I could have and treat it like a Bible. You know what I mean? You know, it's like a book that I can always look to and go, okay, here are the answers. here they are.
They're in there one way or another. There's numerical codes hidden in Scripture that are crazy, but no, I like mine pocket-sized. I used to keep it with me everywhere I went, but then I got a smartphone, and I could do it. I could just Google something, so I didn't need to have a book that was cumbersome with me because I can keep 50 versions in my pocket with a smartphone.
You can Google the Bible. Does that mean
have
anything? You can Google the Bible. This is what I'm saying, man. I said it once already tonight, but, fucking New World. There's a New World, and they're trying to order it. If I can Google the Bible, who's more important? Or at least, fucking there's some competition, right?
Well, I will say this much. Owing to the dishonesty defining Silicon Valley and modernity, it is much more valuable to have physical printed copies of things than to solely rely on search engines, because the search engines are run by a bunch of molesting
lies.
creeps.
The searches are lies. Someone's optimizing them. I don't know what the fuck they think optimization means, but fuck, dude, they're not. That's not what they're doing to it.
Well, it's all
they're not optimizing it. For who? It ain't for me. Search engine optimization. Okay, this shit's fucking nuts.
They're trying to curate, as Tim Cook says, their results, which is wrong.
He's my dad.
Because that's not their office. Is he? Well, that's sad.
He's sad. He's
No
my
wonder he
dad.
beat you.
It's sad. My dad. He's bad.
You got a sad. Your dad gay. Should turn. No, it's just Tim Cook. I mean.
Okay, Daddy. Got
he's
it. Okay.
He's the one who runs Apple. Well, anyway, earlier I wasn't saying there's any excuse for the kind of wicked crap we're seeing at Netflix. There's none. But our podcast as a medium of expression where we can discuss these truths, that's the place where you can talk about those ideas in context without hurting anybody and without making them attractive or apologizing for them. You can talk. We can just have a conversation, which it's just you and me. So it's technically a private conversation, but then we're going to post it online. As soon as this is posted online, it becomes a work of art. So in a conversation like this, we can talk about everything under the sun.
Yeah.
From Tim Cook being an abusive gay daddy to
who puts on the suit and has a bunch of whips. He takes the Chinese boys that make his phones and he puts them in his house and makes them do other things
and more. But the thing is, what they try and do, and part of the reason Hollywood's failing right now, is it does things synthetically. It tries to say, well, our movie that's exploitive and encourages this sort of evil shit is the same thing. It's a context difference. No, your film is a subversive piece of propaganda designed to normalize that wickedness. That's totally different than Kyle and me just trying to figure out where reality is in a conversation.
And comedy.
And that's what they do is they try and, in comedy. What they do in Hollywood right now is they take things out of context in an indefinable way that's hard to put your finger on and use that as a means of lying to you and deceiving you very slyly. And here's the thing. They're getting found out, and thank God for that. And, guys like you and me.
Who's putting them to it? Is it
you
those libtards? I thought it was the libtards canceling them on Twitter. That's who I thought it was. I thought that's who caught Harvey Weinstein. The libtards. Didn't they catch him?
No. You and I are holding the candle to their toes, but it's not just you and me. It's a million of you and me that are having this conversation right now on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and doing their own
YouTube
podcasts.
and Twitter and Instagram. They're all. That's where the conversation is. Wow.
Well, it's happening in real life too, but that's where it's getting spread around exponentially through the vehicle of the internet, which is a genie or it's a cat that won't go back in the bag is the thing. You can chase that cat around and squirt it with a squirt gun, but it's a cat and it's a lot more svelte and quick than you are, so you ain't going to put that cat back in the bag. And that's what we're doing is we have let the cat out of the bag and we ain't putting it back.
Well, talking about the whole of the internet, you know what I mean? It's like, the U.S. government released that intentionally, and you think it's some kind of fucking victory for democracy, Yeah, we're posting this online.
It's like this.
But we're gonna get hidden. We're getting shadow banned, Frenchie. This is the whole point of the podcast. This is why I don't put my fucking. This is why I haven't been. We're gonna put this one on. We're gonna tell everybody about our fucking podcast right now. Once we finish this.
No.
But it's like this is why we're shadow banned, man. We're shadow banned from the fam, from the guys.
No.
They put us out.
We're quote unquote shadow banned, but that's just a temporary thing. It's like this: the U.S. government. Imagine a guy, and he's got a suit that says U.S. government, and he's got a bobcat, and he takes a big, thick burlap sack when the bobcat's asleep, and he sticks the bobcat in the sack, and he goes into the mess quarters holding this bobcat in a sack, and he's like, look, guys, I got a bobcat. And then the bobcat rips through the sack and runs through the whole mess quarters, scaring the hell out of everybody, and they manage to lock that bobcat in a freezer. That's shadow banning. But there's still a bobcat in the freezer, and they have to deal with it because the sergeant's coming.
Die in the freezer, Frenchie. Things die in the freezer. What are you talking about? We're going to die? Is that what you're saying? We're going to die? The things die in the freezer?
No, what else is in the freezer? Food, meat, snacks. A bobcat's a furry critter designed to live in the wintertime. What's that bobcat going to do? It's going to eat all that food in the freezer, and it's going to be just fine. But the soldiers need the food in the freezer too, you see. So that cat's been let out of the bag, number one. Number two, you can't put that cat back in the bag. Number three, you can lock him in the shadow ban freezer, But you can't lock them in that shadow banned freezer forever. You have to go in there eventually.
We're bobcats.
Or you have to lose more money. You have, because there's more money in that freezer.
We're bobcats.
Than you.
We're bobcats with cash.
Well,
we're like
Bobcats
we're like Bobcat Goldthwait.
Somebody put me in the freezer. But yeah,
we're Bobcat. I don't know. I can't even do the voice. I only have my own voice.
I don't know why people are putting me in the freezer, but I've got a lot of meat.
Wow, we're literally Bobcat Goldthwait. This is what your metaphor is. Your metaphor is we're Bobcat Goldthwait. That's your metaphor. We're Bobcat, we have gold. That's your metaphor.
Well, point is, you and I may be on ice right now, but they can't keep us there forever. They can't. There's no way.
Yeah, no, dude, I just got 700 followers on Instagram, and now no one can stop me. Not even Mark. Not even Mark and his little zucky zucks.
Well, here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna try and keep us from being influential as long as they can. But as they expend all their energy holding that door shut, they get weaker and weaker and more tired and more worn down. And eventually, there comes an event horizon where their strength breaks and ours overtakes that. And then all the bobcats in the freezer get let out and they eat the whole army up. That's where the analogy breaks down. But you know what I'm saying?
We gotta eat the rich. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not what I'm saying. Listen here. This guy over here playing devil's advocate.
I'm just trying to make as many jokes as possible during this podcast while we talk about serious shit, okay? That's what I'm trying to do. Sometimes we're getting real into it, okay? We're getting real into it, and someone save us with a joke. Somebody. Yeah, you do it a lot.
Somebody help. I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, you know how it is. I mean, I can't help myself. I get off on a rabbit. If I'm doing comedy, joke. If I'm having a conversation, it's serious, crazy topic, accent, one or two jokes, and total confusion. So that's just my own personality.
Well, that's see. I mean, is that what they want to shed? I see. Like, I don't even like. What are they trying to stop? This is my problem. It's like, it's interesting that people are in their positions. Talking about context, talking about the luck of life. Talking about people's intentions. It's like, how do you even mean to become some kind of fucking media mogul? How do you even see? You talk about fucking Roger Ailes, the person who's poisoned all of Wyoming. Talk about fucking these Fox News and Sinclair Broadcasting and fuck. I'll talk about NBC all day. They fucked up with Donald. They fucked up with MSNBC for sure. Okay,
Oh yeah.
MSNBC. I mean, gosh, how entertaining is their programming? Really, think about it.
It's boring.
But it's how do these people even become in charge of our narratives? And it's like, it's all made up. You know what I mean? They're fucking, what are you trying to stop? You don't have any beliefs. I feel like they have no beliefs, but what are they trying? Are they trying to stop people with just beliefs? Is that the end of the game? Really?
Well, no, they're just evil, wicked perverts that they've got enough money that everything's become passé, and they have a lust to expand power. Yeah. Well, and here's what it is. These lies are the opposite of truth. Lies are entropy. Lies are the destruction of society. And these things are evidence that there is a real malevolent force in the world, and that there is also, if there's that malevolent force, there's a superior good force in the world, and the two are at loggerheads fighting it out. And when we, from the perspective of eternity, can see the whole thing, we can see just how wicked evil was and how good was, and the beauty of the good overcoming the evil, even when the evil seemed more powerful than the good. In fact, it was only an illusion.
Some shit. You're reminding me of this acid trip I took, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can I talk to you about it? I mean, I think I've already told you.
Yeah, sure.
I think I already told you on this podcast. Talking about my whole Christian upbringing. Of course that influences how I think about life. Because if I really think what the Bible is, it's just it's a big context for me and other people, and historically, it's a big context. It's like how you built your universe and your definitions of things, especially, and like how do you, it's your comparison. What's the truth? What is this? I compare the two and I figure it out. So, maybe I don't believe in God, unfortunately, and, I don't believe in the Bible, really. But I still think in those terms and metaphors and, angles, and there's a lot of truth to how, they set up the sides of the story, you know what I mean? There's a lot of truth. And you talk about malevolence. Yeah. I had this acid trip, and I was on the beach, and I had this, I had a really nice experience where I felt all the stress and anxiety and hate leave my body for a momentary time. Of course, I felt it rush back later, but for a moment it was gone. But while in between those moments, right, in between those moments of, the hate leaving and the hate coming back, I had this thought. I was like, you know what? If there is only one real battle in life, it's between life and death. If there's one battle I'm having, it's that I have life. There is life. We have it. We got it. And then there's death. And then they oppose each other. And maybe one's going to win in the end. I don't know. I mean, eternal life, that's what we're talking about, right? That's what we talk about, eternal life. And maybe eternal life, I mean, I don't know what context to put it in my fucking world. But, you're either alive or dead. That's how I think about it.
You're right, and here's the thing. Just because somebody is dead doesn't mean they're not walking around talking to you and thinking. And just because somebody's alive doesn't mean they're not pushing up daisies. The concepts of life and death transcend the ephemeral and extend beyond lifespans. So people, you've seen it in Hollywood. You've seen people that are dead even though they're walking around. And you've seen people who look like they ought to be dead, but they're the liveliest son of a gun, happy. Everywhere they go, they light stuff up.
Like Gavin Newsom?
And that's a...
Like Gavin Newsom? Just the most dead-eyed motherfucker I've ever seen. No, the most dead-eyed motherfucker I've ever seen. But he goes to parties and people like him. I don't know what it is. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He got set up by Donald Trump to be blamed for the coronavirus. It's sad. It's sad what's happened to Gavin. It's sad what's happened to him. It's okay. Yeah, Donald Trump, he's like, all right, Gavin, what do you got? States' rights, baby. Remember the Republic. Remember, Gavin. Remember the Republic. Can you handle it? You're always calling yourself a country. Can you be?
Gavin Newsom is a dead-eyed vampire who lies, cheats, and steals and puts on a face that I don't think even he believes.
It's such a sexy face, though. Frenchie, it's such a sexy face that guy has. He's so sexy. I love that.
I wonder if that guy remembers what it means to be alive. I'll bet he hasn't had a real thought in decades.
At least not since his divorce. His ex-wife is literally dating Donald Trump Jr. That's so funny. Fucking Gavin. You got fucked, son. You got fucked by Donnie TJ. Donnie TG, shit.
So you're saying, you're telling me Gavin Newsom is Eskimo Bros with Donald Trump 2.0?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the girl who gave the best speech of the Republican convention. Fucking, Power Rangers bitch. Fucking shooting lightning from her hands. That bitch. You know that bitch?
I do. Well, I understand why she was so passionate now. I didn't realize she was dating Donald Trump Jr.
This is all one big hilarious effort to get back at her ex-husband, and it's the best thing I've ever seen.
Well, here's the thing, though. When she got married to Gavin Newsom, she didn't realize he was dead, and she was never into necrophilia, you see. So she feels like she got tricked.
Well, that's your side of it. My side of it is that Gavin always pretended he was conservative, all right, because he's such a fucking shit, fucking crappy politician. He always towed that line, okay, because California is a fucking red state, even in fucking San Francisco, okay. Go to Palo Alto, talk about fucking fiscal values, all right. You'll find a lot of camaraderie, all right. So fucking he was doing that shit. So he married this girl who was conservative, and because he's really conservative, because he's an entrepreneur, and he fucking worked for his money, and it's a hilarious thing that happened. It's so
There's a huge difference between a neocon and a conservative, but I think we're gonna have to table it because my headphones just gave me the beep sound, and they're about to die on me because they're those iPod wireless things.
all right. Well, 220. That's all we could do. 220. That's all you got in yourself, kid. That's all you got.
Well, I have to use the bathroom too.
Oh yeah, I've used the bathroom twice since we've been talking. Isn't that funny?
Well, good for you, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Yeah. So you're done. It's over. We're quitting. This is it.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so for today. We can resume the conversation about that which is dead and seems alive, and that which is alive and seems dead in the near future.
Yeah. Well, it's really important. It's really important, and we gotta.
I think
All right.
so. All right, buddy. Well, good talking to you. I'm gonna go ahead and split this file up and send it to you.
Yeah, this
and
is it,
I'll
man.
catch you on the
this
next
is the
one.
one. This is how we do it. We gotta fucking. I'm gonna create a bunch of shows. All right, my life is gonna fucking get crazy, and you're gonna be part of it. All right.
I dig it. Hey, maybe one of these days we could like animate these things if we got enough money.
No, we're gonna
And,
do a live
just-
podcast, aren't we, Frenchie? You want to announce it? You want to tell the date? What time are you gonna be in Colorado between October 18th and fucking the 20th, the 21st? You want to come to Colorado?
I dig it. We'll be there, and hopefully I'm not in Facebook jail then as I am now, so we can really make it live.
All right. Oh, we could do it live. That'd be dope too. All right, man. All right, Frenchie. Go have fun. Enjoy your family. Time to be alive.
All right, buddy. All right, catch you later. Right.